Sleeper is the #1 fantasy sports app. It pays to know sports. Pick more or less on top players. Your first pick is on us, so start winning now. Play in Texas, Georgia, Minnesota, and 27 more states. Pick anytime across all sports, pregame or live. Over 10 million players are already on Sleeper. Make your picks count. Score up to 1,000 times your cash. Join today. Get up to $100 credit using the code FOREVER. Call your shot on Sleeper. Download now.
Welcome in, everyone, and it's us again. The Seahawks Syndicate is back. That's Brandon below me. That is Dan to my right, and that is Mookie in the bottom corner being yelled at by Terry Bradshaw. So, gentlemen, how are we? I know, what did he do to make Terry Bradshaw so angry? But, gentlemen, how are we all feeling? You know, it's what, 72 hours or just under, getting ready for this game now. Brandon, I'll start with you. How are you feeling, man?
I feel much in the same way of going into the Niner game. I know this is a playoff game and there's some uncertainty there, absolutely, and this game could go either way. But I think what stands out, just in being honest with it and true, is that there's kind of a quiet confidence to what I just feel about us walking into this game. And there's a lot of reasons we're going to pull apart as to why we're getting potentially collectively there. But I just feel it, and I think that that's unusual, where there's times we come into the playoffs so very often. I think many of the teams, this is the way you feel, is that you as a fan look at this team and you know it so clearly. And you also know where you falter. You know where, oh, that's vulnerable there. Wow, that's got a little bit of, maybe we can just, and you start doing that. You capture the magical spirit thing, right? Ride the magical wave. And that can happen. You can see Super Bowls won that way, but more often than not, it is more in the form and shape that we've taken to here through the back half in the season and last week.
Mookie, I'll go with you next, man. How are you feeling going into this Sunday's matchup with the Rams for the third, another trilogy, and this team having to basically win the NFC West again?
Yeah, this is the third and final time we'll see the Rams, and for whatever reason, I'm not saying super confident. I'm saying I feel a little more calm about this week's game, even though it's a trip to the Super Bowl on the line, as opposed to the game against the 49ers last week, where that favored Seattle more, and yet I was just, it was something was itching at me, like what happens if the moment is too big for them, and then we got to deal with Niners fans all off season. So now that the Niners are out of the question, they're out of the picture, they can go talk about theoreticals all they want for the off season. I'm just hoping that we have a well-played game and that the Seahawks do the damn thing. If they don't do it, I'm very proud of how the season has gone. If they do it, then, folks, I think that the Seahawks are odds on to win the Super Bowl, whether they play Denver or New England. It's no disrespect to New England in particular, knowing Denver's down to Stidham. But, man, it's kind of hard to believe, even when we were talking about this back in August, that the Seahawks would even be in this position where they're hosting an NFC Championship game. And for you history nerds, that background and why Terry Bradshaw is yelling at me, that is today is the 20-year anniversary, 20. I was not even a teenager yet, of the Seahawks winning their first NFC Championship, destroying the Carolina Panthers 34-14. It wasn't even that close. They made their first Super Bowl. So, kids, you want to see great left tackle play? Go watch the end of the first quarter. Walter Jones taking Mike Rucker, very good defensive play for the Carolina Panthers, taking him from the 15 and displacing him to the 1-yard line. One of the all-time greatest plays you'll ever see, even from Walter Jones himself. So yeah, I'm confident. I'm not overconfident. I'm just excited to see it happen.
So if we win this game, guys, does that mean we change our thumbnail and put like a ram kind of object in behind where we have the ram head on the wall of the Syndicate mafia room?
I can
Might
see
have to.
Yeah.
I think that'd be a pretty good addition to the backdrop of our thumbnail. But Dan, I'll pivot to you last here, my friend. How are you feeling going into this? Because, you know, again, this is a trilogy. This is round 3 against probably the offensive version of our defensive coach in Sean McVay, with a very veteran quarterback coming into a very hostile environment for the first time. And I get these guys have won in New Orleans with Sean and the PI that was never called. And then they beat up on San Francisco in SoFi, but they've never walked into Lumen and they've never been around the 12s. How does this have you feeling?
First of all, Mookie said doo-doo, so we're getting this show off to a great start tonight. I do love that. Second of all, I have a healthy, tremendous amount of respect for Sean McVay, this Rams team, and Matt Stafford specifically, because I think even as well as the Seahawks defense is playing right now, the one way that you can beat them is have a guy like Stafford, is to be able to attack aggressively downfield over the middle of the field and throw the ball into tiny windows. That's not Brock Purdy's game. That's why I think it's going to be real tough on that 49ers team over the next several years in that matchup. Brock Purdy relies on timing and anticipation and rhythm, and Mike McDonald and the way he runs that defense and the players that we have over there throws that off. Just makes life a lot more difficult for Purdy. That being said, I think there's two advantages a team can have going into the postseason in the NFL. One is just being a really objectively good team, a talented roster. The other thing is being hot. And the Seahawks are both right now. And that's a dangerous combination at home in front of a crowd that I think people thought Saturday was the return to form of the 12s. They haven't seen nothing yet. What we're going to see there on Sunday at Lumen Field, I think, and I said this on the show the other day, is going to rival that what Mookie has in the background there, because to me, that is still the landmark. That is the loudest and the craziest that stadium has ever been. And I still maintain that it'll probably never match that again, because it was constant. It was from 15 minutes before kickoff all the way through to the end of the game, everyone on their feet just screaming their guts out the whole game. There was no lull. There was no waiting for the team to, the Panthers to get into the huddle. It was just constant. I've never seen anything like that, but it's going to be insane. And I saw a stat this week that teams coming off a blowout win in the divisional round and then playing at home in the championship game over the last several years are unbeatable, or unbeaten anyway, over that stretch. It's just a really, really tough combination to crack. And I think this Seahawks team, I think, Brandon, you're the one that said quiet confidence. I just watched a couple hours ago, watched the, the mic'd up, the sounds, the thing the Seahawks put together and put online. And that's what I came away from that 49er game, is this team is playing loose and free and confident, and they're not tight and they're not wound up. And I'm not so sure that the Rams aren't coming in too wound up. And I think that might be kind of how Sean McVay has been stoking the fires. Maybe he's pushing them too hard since things started to go askew for them about 6 weeks ago. I think they're coming in here tight. They're coming in here, they're all the intensity they can muster. And I think the pressure's on them. And I think the Seahawks are going to take this one.
So I've maintained this idea, guys, where something broke with the Rams when they lost to us in week 16, because they haven't been the same team they were prior to that matchup. You look at the Falcons loss, you look at the, even the game against the Cardinals. For a majority of that game, it was very close in a game that the Rams really needed to win, and they didn't play, I think, to the standard that they had most of the year. You then fast forward to the wild card game. They, I think a lot of us expected the Rams to go in there and handle business quite easily against a team that they should have beat the brakes off of. It comes down to a 2-minute possession with the Panthers losing their brains a little bit on defense and just going kind of into this prevent and letting Stafford work his way down the field, to last week in a situation where if Ben Johnson kicks 2 field goals, this game isn't even going into overtime and the Rams are now sitting on the couch at home and we're playing Chicago. Something is off with this team. And I don't think it's something that's just minor. I think there is something that has happened. I don't know if Stafford's slightly hurt. I don't know what it is, but the Rams fans out there, and I know, Brandon, you've got the NFC Roundtable, and we've all talked to different Rams folks throughout the week. There's kind of this confidence that they think that they can just roll in here and do what Matt Stafford and Puka Nacua did in week 16 with their 580 total yards and the 400 passing yards. There's an interesting stat. Mike McDonald is 7-0 when having to play a team for a second time in a row in a season, or never losing, I should say, in that situation, playing a team again and again. How do you guys feel? And I'll start with you, Dan. How do you feel this defense is going to play on Sunday?
I think it's going to look a lot closer to week 11 than week 16. I think McDonald said something at the very beginning of the week that I don't know if it got enough attention. I did a whole show on this yesterday. It was like cutting down a tree out in the middle of the woods and no one to hear it because I could only put it on my Patreon. But I don't know if you guys caught this, but McDonald, I think it was on his coach's show on the radio. And he was talking about the way he tried to prepare this team for week 16. Remember, it was a Thursday night game. It was on a short week. And he basically said, that he tried to put too much on their plate. He tried to install something new that he thought they were ready for because they were playing so well. But on a short week with only walkthroughs and with the crowd being as loud as they were on Thursday night and all the communication that has to happen after the snap on the back end in this defense, it put them in some disadvantageous positions. And it was one of the factors that allowed Matt Stafford to throw for over 400 yards. Not only did they get the full week of prep this week, but they get it with an entirely healthy defense, and they actually get an extra day and really 2 days when you think about what it was like for the Rams playing late into Sunday, flying back from there. Seahawks are already home. That I think it'll be different. And I think you'll see the plan will be better. It'll be able to slow that Rams defense or that offense down a little bit more in the first half. I expect a much better performance from the defense.
So Brandon, I got this for you. Third matchup, right? We're talking about these two teams know each other well. McVay knows Mike. Mike knows McVay. These coordinators all know each other. What's more important in this, in your opinion, or what do you think is going to play more of a factor? The familiarity or the ability to self-scout and change between these two teams?
I think more probably the familiarity, because I think with McDonald, to Dan's point on this, the more you give him time, the more times he gets to look at the team that he's playing in repetition. I think the more answers that he feels like he can bring about, and that he's a guy with many answers. It's just about finding the right answer for the problem that presents itself. And with McVay, I don't think that he necessarily presents what would be a straightforward, easy answer. I think with Shanahan, there's some things he was able to unpack. For instance, undoing the designs of Shanahan's pre-snap offense, the motions, the shifts, and a lot of what he does to manipulate the defense into getting your tells. He took that away, and that's a very simplified kind of structure to attacking. There's more onto this, of course, being able to get pressure with the front four, et cetera, et cetera. But with the Rams, I think it's a little bit more of a horse of another color. And I think you've got to go into this one with a little bit more of, I can't just apply one-step approach. It depends on where the team's at. McVay's at. He's very much amoeba-like in the way he can change and the way he wants to run his attack. And so Mike's going to, I think, learn and understand this more and more. And with time, I think he'll get better, to get back to Dan and showing the track record of playing those opponents to that. Now, McVay's also got a little bit of that, I think, track record to his as well. So there's a little bit of that. Hey, we got a couple of chess masters at play here. You know, we got Bobby Fischer against who's the new guy with the big old chin? He's the Magnus or something, I guess, the kid's guy's name, right? Yeah, Magnus. So it's like, it's like kind of from a mindset, those two guys going at it. But I do think, in general terms, having a little bit of extra time, having the fresher team, having this now be that he's had a good now this would be the fifth matchup here that you run up against him, much better opportunity to really understand what McVay wants to do.
Yeah, and that's where I think it's going to, I tend to agree with you too, Brandon. The familiarity is really going to, a part in this. And it'll be the interesting thing of who figures out how to take advantage of something that is the bread and butter, for essence, of the other. And that's something I'm going to be interested in. Mookie, for you, like, which staff do you trust more in this to break tendencies we've already seen twice? Do you trust, Mike and that, the Seahawks team, or do you trust, McVay to have something to break some tendencies?
I think I might trust Mike and the defensive staff more to figure out what they can do to slow down this Rams offense. Now, is it going to be exactly like these last two Niners games? Absolutely not. If they hold the Rams under 10 points, I will be shocked. Or Matthew Stafford got injured and Garoppolo turtled up, because I think we know the Rams offense, number one in points per game, all that, they are good enough to score with anybody. But we have seen just in division games with McDonald, I'm going to throw out Arizona because they're Arizona. But how often have we seen, at least through these two seasons, when McDonald's playing the Rams or the 49ers, that second matchup tends to be better to some degree. So I think that the Rams' second game was one of the few times where McDonald slipped up in a rematch and they got outfoxed pretty much throughout the first half, but he adjusted in the second half. I mean, when you think about the second half of that game in a 38-37, there was one touchdown drive that came on a short field because of the Darnold near pick six. And then there was another touchdown drive that was a longer drive. And then they scored in overtime. But through all of that, they also had 5 3-and-outs forced that helped Seattle stay in the game. So they were able to figure out some things, especially on the defensive line. I noticed that when they were pressuring Stafford more often, the offense got off kilter. And that coincided with the decision to play Chenna and Lawrence more over Mafe and Hall. Were just kind of not really getting it done. So McVay and McDonald, those are two masterminds. we never really talk about defensive-minded coaches as geniuses, which I think is unfair. We love offense so much that anybody who's near Sean McVay must be a genius by proxy. But when it comes to defensive-minded head coaches, they kind of get this meathead mentality, this meathead reputation. That's not the case for McDonald. And I think that he will find some ways to attack the Rams defense, the Rams offense rather, specifically the heavy personnel stuff. I mean, he mostly shut it down the first time. And then the second time they had some struggles with it in the first half, particularly with all the early down run success. But in the second half, the Rams could barely run the ball. And as such, they weren't as easily capable of moving the ball down the field. So I'm really fascinated to see what McDonald can do in this third go-around. I'm not going to discount McVay being able to figure out how to attack the Seahawks defense, but I just think that McDonald is just as good a strategist as we've seen in quite some time.
So I'll put this one out to the group here, and I think it's an interesting one. So out of the first two matchups, what do you think is the biggest illusion that won't hold up Sunday from the first two games? And Brandon, I'll start with you.
That would be a part of both of the two games.
Yeah, so if you think of the two games, something that's come out of it that people are banking on that you think's an illusion that just won't hold up Sunday.
Well,
it's,
yeah, I think the interceptions is probably the low. I get to take the low-hanging fruit on this because I think it's interceptions. That's obviously, I think, going to be everybody's first answer they go to. So it makes me, thank you for getting to go to me on that one first, by the way. I think you underhanded that one, brother. You went underhanded.
Sometimes I got to throw some volleyballs out there for you.
I get it. I appreciate those. You need those from time to time, man. You need those. I don't this bad. I got a little bit of an uppercut. I need that a little slow. So yeah, I think that what you see with Sam, you guys know this. I've hammered it. I won't beat you guys over the head again with this point, but that I think what Sam's done over the back half of the schedule has been purposeful more than it's been, it just happened to throw less, or they're protecting him, or they're dialing down the offense. It's not as much that. It's much of we're dialing into our identity, the identity we're going to have this offseason. We walked into this program. And then we're also going to have Sam understanding he doesn't have to do too much. And when Sam stopped doing too much more than them limiting him, because that's the way the narrative goes on this one. They're training wheels, they're protecting him. It's not that. It's that you're going to your identity, and this is the way you built this team in the offseason. If you want pass-happy Sam, build that in the offseason. It's not what we're doing here. So it's been on purpose. It's brought out the right results in this way. And it just gives me the confidence that it will continue in the future. When you're not doing something by we fell into it, but by this is us by our determination saying this is how we're going to play. Now that you've done it repetitiously, game after game after game, how does that not embolden confidence to believe that it's going to hold true?
All right, Dan, I'll pivot to you on this. What do you think is the biggest illusion from the first two games that won't hold up Sunday?
I think from the Rams side of things, that Stafford's going to stay on his feet. But we haven't got to him in the first two games. Only hit him 7 times, 0 sacks. That just goes against everything that we've seen this defense do all year long. Credit to the Rams for getting the ball out quick and McVay for scheming it up, and they have a solid offensive line. I just don't see that happening again. I think with the crowd noise, the intensity of the moment, the importance of it, and how, as I said earlier, like this is 100% a healthy defense. And we saw how good 100% healthy defense could be against a really good offense just 4 or 5 days ago. I think that becomes a part of this game. Is I think they find a way, McDonald does, especially with the extra prep time, to get to Stafford and get him on the ground. I think it's a big key to this game. And I just don't see them going 3 straight games against the same opponent without getting to the quarterback, especially one as immobile as Stafford.
All right, Mookie, the encyclopedia. What for you is the illusion that'll be kind of disproven on Sunday?
Well, darn it, Dan took my answer because it was going to be the lack of sacks. And also, they didn't sack him in the first meeting last year. And, of course, he didn't play in the rematch. Garoppolo did. So that means the next time they stack Stafford, yeah, he is way owed. And I think that
couple levels.
Stafford, so I wrote this article for SBNation.com National, and I noted that turnover regression has been one of the biggest themes of this NFL playoffs. And what I mean by that is regression is naturally looked upon as a negative thing. Sometimes you can get some positive regression. So, for example, the Seahawks, -3 in turnover differential this year. In fact, so was Denver, both -3. What happens in the divisional round? The Broncos forced 5 turnovers off Josh Allen and the Bills, and the Seahawks force 3 turnovers against San Francisco and have 0 turnovers for the second game in a row. In fact, it's the first time that they've had back-to-back games under McDonald without turning the ball over. Now, for the Rams, they've been on the plus side of the turnover differential for a while because Stafford has been a low interception quarterback. They don't fumble a lot, and they've been good at taking away the ball. But you watch Stafford these last 2 weeks, and it is a wonder that he only has 1 turnover this postseason. And he should have, I mean, they could have been out if Puka Nacua does not break up that end zone throw that Nick Scott should have picked off in the Panthers game. That could have been a totally different outcome. And even in this Bears game, what happens? He doesn't throw any picks, even though he could have had like 2 or 3. And then he has 2 strip sacks, and the Bears are unable to recover either one of them. In fact, one of them bounced gleefully back into the arms of Stafford. So as it pertains to the Seahawks and Rams, yeah, they haven't pressured Stafford into a sack. They haven't forced any fumbles against him, and they really haven't come close to picking him off either. And this is a team that is really good at taking the ball away. It's not like Denver. Denver's defense somehow best by far in sacks, and they're really bad at turnovers. It's kind of a weird thing that's going on there. But for the Seahawks to only have 1 takeaway off of the Rams, I don't think that's going to hold up this Sunday. I think there are going to be opportunities for the Seahawks to make some game-shifting plays. Stafford, when he's been pressured, or even just when he's not pressured, like the Falcons game, he threw a terrible pick 6 overthrow. And I can just see Kobe Bryant or Julian Love taking advantage of like that center field, ball is overthrown play that gets picked off and sets up Seattle in great field position. So I think that we're going to see some turnovers from this defense. And if we see a strip sack, maybe it can be from DeMarcus Lawrence because he's been always involved in that. Like they have 3 strip sacks all year. 2 of them, DeMarcus Lawrence recovered the fumbles for a touchdown, and another one he forced a strip sack and even more recovered it. So, yeah, I think we're about to see some evening out of this turnover game over the 2 games. Seattle is not -6 bad over 2 matchups.
Quickly, Bryce, on that, to that point, just on Mookie's, I heard a stat since week 12, Matt Stafford, the highest percentage of turnover-worthy plays for the quarterback position since week 12. So just to go in tandem with that. Yeah,
we need to activate Quandre Diggs from the practice squad because it seems like he's the only Seahawk.
3 safety looks, Mookie.
Picking off any Rams quarterback. He got Goff so many times. He got Stafford a couple times. So he's the good luck charm in all this as a former teammate of his in Detroit.
I got to say this. Yeah. You guys all suck because you all took the great ones, and I'm now left as the host with nothing. But I've got one, and I think it kind of fits, so I'm going to say it anyways. I think the illusion that won't hold up Sunday is that Seattle doesn't know how to use Rashid Shaheed in the passing game. I've got a feeling Shaheed's going to go off in this game. They tried the deep shot versus the Niners. They kind of got him involved in the run game. We've seen that, but I mean in the passing game. I got a feeling this could be a game where we look back and we go, yeah, well, when Rashid went for over 100 yards and a score, on the Rams, that just kind of flipped the game on its head. That's where I think this illusion is, because you think about it. There was the missed opportunity in SoFi where if Darnold puts it out like a foot farther in front of him, he's got a touchdown on that go ball. I don't see the corners for the Rams really being able to run with him all game. I just think it's this illusion that, Seattle doesn't know how to use him. So that's why, I got a feeling that Shaheed could go off in this game and it'd be a total turning point for this offense where it's like, oh crap, we can't handle the fact that we've got to stay in our 2 high. We can't roll anybody down to deal with Walker running through, because if we do, they're just going to launch it over our head to Shaheed.
Love it. I love it, man. Especially get him in the base packages with it. Get him in a base, get the safety to come down, and that other safety roll the JSN, isolate Shaheed to one side. It gets really simple for Sam really fast on his read at that point.
Well, I think that's a good point. There's just simply no way that Chris Shula is going to be able to run the coverage package that he did week 11 that caused so many problems for Darnold. He can't. He himself has even come out this week, and I know that, sometimes with what coaches say during the week, some of it can be strategic, but it didn't sound like that's what was coming from him. He said what any of the rest of us would say if we were in his position. That running game's on a roll. 4 straight games of 160 plus yards. They ran for 180 against us just a couple of weeks ago. We saw what they did to the Niners. We have to stop the run. And if that means devoting another guy to the line of scrimmage, that's what they're going to have to do, which should only play into what you were talking about, Bryce, and really provide some opportunities for Shaheed or somebody else.
And I wonder if the Rams are going to be a little bit more cognizant and wary of the run game of Seattle because their own run defense, while they were great in short yardage last week against the Bears, but outside of that, the Bears were getting some chunk plays on the ground, or at least getting successful rushes. It's just that when it became 3rd and 1 or 4th and 1, Ben Johnson threw out all of the quarterback sneak plays in his playbook and said, let me run very long developing plays to the side where my backup left guard is playing. And it just kind of threw everything out of whack. But they got gashed for 171 by Seattle in the last meeting. There was actually good rushing success for the Seahawks in the first game. They had 130-something yards. Walker had some good explosive plays. And really what hurt Seattle is the fact that they were trailing almost the whole game, so they were throwing it at a ridiculous clip. So the Rams' run defense has sputtered a bit from the second Seahawks game to the Falcons game especially, and how badly Bijan Robinson was tearing them apart. He had, a 95-yard touchdown run. They were very good against Carolina in the rematch. I'll give them credit for that because Carolina gashed them in the first meeting. But as a whole, if anything to me has noticeably dipped, it's their run defense. And as vaunted as that defensive line is, and as much as their reputation is very high, they have not been completely as dominant at the line of scrimmage as you would have anticipated for a defense of this caliber. So I think that the run game worries could maybe open up some opportunities for the Seahawks that, frankly, they have not had for the last several weeks because teams have been more willing to take away the explosives and saying, hey, please run the ball so that we don't have to get beaten by a JSN bomb over the top.
And they, by the way, on this, remember to Dan's point on the bringing the safety up in the box thing here, we love to live in nickel light box. They like to live in, and they have not like to, they have to. They'd live like we'd live if they could want to. Everybody wants to be in the mansion if you can be so. It's just they happen to find themselves down the lowlands. So they have to, because of their personnel, go into a 3-4 look in base downs. 2 tight end packages, 21 personnel. You're getting a 3-4 look from the Rams. So they've already taken that one thing you do as a nickel defense and go, okay, well, we'll counter it to base. That'd be the first card you'd pull to kind of counter it is what we struggle against the run. So that's going to be, they've already tugged on that first ripcord. They're to the second ripcord in the pack, which is going to bring that safety into the box. It's not like Bryce can confirm this. You don't got 5 choices as a coach here to get this fixed. Oh, we'll just tighten the alignments of the defensive line and you can do some run blitzes and all that, but that's not really their DNA. So then bringing down the safety becomes the draw they have to do. And not because they want to do it, not because they're great at doing that, not because they got Cam Chancellor reborn, but because they have to do it.
No, and that's one thing for sure. And that's the one thing I just had a conversation with Blaine Grisak about it. And he even said, he goes, if you get us out of our 2-shell look, we're in trouble. We're in trouble in this game because that's what you guys feasted on in the passing game for the first half of the season, were teams that wanted to play single high versus you. And the thing is, at the beginning of the year, we didn't have a Rashid Shaheed involved in this. Like, we were trying to get Torrey Horton up to speed. Now you add that and you want to go single high because you have to roll that safety down into the box, whether it's Quentin Lake or whoever it is. That changes the dynamic completely for a team that loves to thrive off of play action and the quick passing game, because now it's like, yeah, cool, we're just going to get the ball out. And then if you want to back that safety and rotate him back, yeah, we'll just run the ball down your throat right where he's leaving from. And you just pay attention to your boundary or field safety rotation, and you can take advantage of it all game, which I think Sam's actually done a very good job of this year. So let's talk about this run game, guys, because it took a bit of a hit. Obviously, we lost Zach Charbonnet in the San Francisco game, which I think is quite a big deal. But we got to see what a fully unleashed Ken Walker can look like when he's had load management all year. And, you know, Brandon, you and me have been 2 guys that have been really big on K9 and his importance, and Dan as well. But when we look at this, is the run game for Seattle in this game more about the yardage, or is it more about tempo and protection? And Mookie, I'll start with you on this.
To me, the Seahawks don't have to rush for 190 or 200. If they do, Seattle's probably winning the game. But in terms of just the tempo and the protection, I think that the way that they can run the ball with Walker versus just Walker and Charbonnet means that there's a greater likelihood that they're going to hit an explosive play. But in terms of just getting some plays in just to slow down the Rams pass rush and to get into more third and manageables, or even get to, like, you know, a good early down rushing success, to me, that's going to be the big thing. What's killed Seattle at times, or made Seattle struggle at times on defense against the Rams, is when the Rams' early down running game is working. So to me, Seattle's run game doesn't have to be explosive, but it has to be on schedule. And what we've been seeing out of Walker the last few weeks is that you can get on schedule with Kenneth Walker too, as long as the blocking is there. And this version of Walker looks as close as I've seen to rookie Kenneth Walker that we could possibly get. I mean, he's been running through arm tackles. He is showing great acceleration. He's being patient. He's finding his cutback lanes, all that. I will give one caveat to this run game. If George Holani is ready to go, and I'm pretty sure he is, he probably could have been activated anytime over the last few weeks. Holani, I would prefer to get the ball to spell Walker some carries over Akers and Velus Jones, if only because Velus isn't a running back. Like he just converted to it. And then for Cam Akers, he is so unreliable in pass pro, and he's got his own ball security issues that if he's in the game, I think we kind of know what situation it is. But with Holani, he is as close as you can get to simulating kind of what Charbonnet provides. We've watched him in preseason the last 2 years. He can be kind of Charbonnet for a day. And I think that can help the Seahawks kind of keep that balance where, okay, this just because Charbonnet is out doesn't mean that Walker suddenly gets 25 to 30 carries. It means he might have to get 20 carries or 22 carries. But Holani, I think I can trust him to get 5 or 6 carries and kind of be that physical running style while also providing competent pass protection to make sure that the running game stays afloat and that it can stay on schedule. So I'm curious to see what happens in terms of Clint Kubiak's game planning. I think that Holani could play a bigger role than any one of us could have anticipated. But I'm bummed for Zach Charbonnet as an aside. Like I don't believe he's been like a big debate for us about his effectiveness and everything, but he's had a career year. It didn't look like a serious injury when we were watching it live. We were seeing him on the bike on the TV, and now we find out that he's done for the year and maybe done for a good chunk of next year too. So all the best to Zach. But in terms of this game, yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing this running game really challenge the Rams defense again.
Brandon, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I do think that Holani will have a role to fill. I worry most about goal line and pass protection, even though Charbonnet's been a little bit backwards this year on the pass pro stuff at times. But Walker, as we saw last week on the play at the opening there with Sam, can sometimes not give you the best of effort on that. I think you got to find 25 touches for Walker in this game. And I think that more than it being about, to me, the yardage, it's more about the commitment to it. And that you're coming out of this game with 30 rushes in this game. And if you're doing that, then it means the counterbalance to that is you're throwing probably 25 to 30 times. And if you're throwing 25 to 30 times, how many of those are going to be play action pass, tight end drag across the field, attacking off coverage with an out route throw, having Cooper Kupp sit down on a 3rd and 3 and find the soft spot in the zone, meaning not high leverage throws requiring Sam to have to do a lot of heavy lifting necessarily on those plays. I think you can live that way and trust in this type of team you build in that way. It still doesn't mean there's going to be a couple of throws you can make that, like we had last week, where you're going to go, ooh, here we go. And that's what I love about Sam is he's capable of making all the throws in the book. It's not that typical like game manager you might have. I've made this comparison. It's like Brock Purdy. You can just be like, shut down the inside, force him to throw out the numbers. If it's in inclement weather, you're good to go. And that's not what you can do with Sam. He can make every throw in the book, so there's no place to really kind of close him down on with that. But I think this is about keeping yourself in this, and it's going to be the same for the Rams, by the way. This isn't a Sam thing. I think the same thing is true for the Rams offense. If I'm them, I've got to keep Stafford under 30 attempts in this game. That would be my ideal rather than the 40 attempts kind of mode, which is where I think they'll probably end up against us. So just getting the attempts on point, that's commitment to the running game. The first game, we got away from it. That was as much as what kind of led a little bit to the Sam interceptions as much as anything. You kind of came out of that game trying to, hey, we're gonna start throwing. It's a light box, it's a light front, attack it. They're not particularly good at stopping the run, and certainly not recently. Attack it. Keep your pedal down on the right places.
And finally, Dan, I'll go with you on this one.
I think the running game and the way it's been dialed in the last 6 weeks is why I'm so confident in this game. I mean, it's the thing that we were promised. It's the foundation of this scheme going back 20 years. And it just, Mike McDonald kept telling us all throughout the year, right? It was just one little thing here, one little thing there. That's why we saw some of the inconsistencies, and it got dialed in, and it's powerful, and it just raises your floor so much when you can run the football. And the Rams weren't particularly good at stopping the run this year all season long. I mean, they gave up about, I think it was 4.3 yards per carry. That's about middle of the pack in the league. The Bears, even though they didn't really commit to the run, on Sunday, they averaged over 4 yards a carry with it, and they were able to get some yards when they needed to. I think the fact that we see Walker, the best version that we've seen of Kenneth Walker since his rookie year, he feels comfortable in this system now. He's decisive. He's He's running with the purpose. You can see it. And oh, by the way, over the last 3, 4, 5 weeks, they're starting to get him involved in the passing game. They're even dialing up some design screens, and they're working. And that just makes him even more dangerous, especially against a Rams team that can send some extra guys and put pressure on you. And I'm with you. Like, we didn't need Charbonnet to win 41-6 on Saturday. I think he only had 5 carries by the time he got hurt. But as crushing as that was, as disappointing as it was to wake up Monday to that news, especially after Mike McDonald, putting us all at ease after the game on Saturday, saying they didn't think it was serious, there was nothing structural. That was a body blow. But then getting the news that Helani is back, and I even reached out to Corbin Smith before that news came out and asked him what he thought. And he said his understanding was that last week Helani was good to go physically. They didn't have a roster spot for him. And so that tells me he's healthy. And a healthy George Helani, that's always been the thing with him. It's the reason he didn't get drafted out of Boise State. He has a long injury history. A healthy George Helani, I don't know that the margin between he and Zach Charbonnet is all that wide. And I actually think he's even more explosive. And he could have some key touches in this game and maybe break a big one.
Yeah, the Helani aspect of this kind of, at least I would say, lessens the blow. Doesn't take away the blow, but lessens it enough. And it'll be interesting
if he wasn't playing this week. Yeah,
I would as well. And for me, I think we see Cam Akers as the probably the third running back, I would say, just because, to your point, Mookie, like, Jones is just getting to that spot, right? Like, he's there, and Derek Young can return kicks along Shaheed if you needed him to. And so I would expect it to be Cam Akers this week. It'll be interesting. But in regards to this running game, is there a yards per carry average for Seattle in this game that they kind of need to get to make this an effective running game? Is it 4 yards? Is it 3.5? Like, where do you think that secret number is where, and I know, Brandon, you and me have talked about, just stay out of the negative, stay out of the minus runs, try and stay ahead of those chains. Is there a number for you on those early downs that you're looking to, where, like, Seattle on early downs needs to try and average this on their run plays? And Dan, I'll start with you.
I don't really look at it from a yards per carry average. It's number of touches, right? If you've got to get, what have they been during this stretch last six weeks? It's about 30 touches from running backs, right? Total. And so, maybe in this game you lean heavier on Walker. Maybe he gets it 25 times, and then you find 5 touches for either Akers or Helani. And it'll be interesting to see, to your point, Bryce, what they do in the red zone, because Helani was starting to get some of those reps before he got hurt in the red zone as a secondary option. And I'm not so sure that Cam Akers won't this week. That dude runs really hard. He's a hammer when he's feeling good. Wouldn't surprise me if maybe he gets a little bit of play there too, just because he's been at it with him while Helani's been on injured reserve. But no, that's it's number of touches. I think just stay consistent with it, even if it's not there, even if the Rams devote extra bodies and it works and it slows them down and we don't get the chunk plays that we've had the last couple of weeks. Or even, in the first matchup when Walker was 11 for 100 and had some big key runs and a big screen pass there. I think it's just number of touches. If you stay consistent with the run game, even if they average 3 yards a carry, I think at the end of the game, we look back in the box score, they have 25, 30 touches from running backs. They probably come out on top.
Brandon, what about yourself?
Remind me to get on back on the question with it, where we're sorry, I lost my train of thought.
Just like, is there a certain number of touches versus yards per carry on the early downs Seattle kind of needs to obtain, kind of a thing?
It's not really. It's more of just I think, commitment to it. As much as with Kubiak at times this year, I think he's got that odd predilection. I think Sean McVay is one of the worst of this. He's got a horrible problem with this, where he just can't stay with the run, and they feel like they have to leave the pass even as it's working. Well, I've got to do something countering this. And it's like, no, make them stop the thing that's going well. And I think any kind of positive yards on first down are going to be good yards, because it's setting you into the down distance with Kubiak, where he has the full complement of his playbook into second, then likely into third down, because you keep getting a couple of yards every time. You're getting yourself into the third and threes. Just changes everything from how the Rams run at you. You get in a 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9, here come the stunts, here come the loops, and then, is Sam going to react well to that? Is your offensive line going to pick that up? Is he going to trust his line at that point or get a bit jumpy in that? Versus when you're in the 3rd and 3 and they've got hey, there's still a threat of running the ball here. Now I've got to dial that back. So it's really the key here is that you are finding a way, even when it's predictable at times, of running the ball on early downs, even when it's like, well, they're expecting it. And fight against that urge. If I'm Kubiak, I'd go, well, just because they expected, now I don't do it. There's times this year with the Rams where they've brought those guys down there to stop the run, and they've had plenty of bodies and extra bodies down there, and big runs have been popped. Like I think the 92-yarder by Bijan was not a situation where they had a bunch of guys back in coverage. They had everybody down the line of scrimmage, so you can pop a big run on them even when they get those bodies down there. It doesn't have to necessarily instantaneously mean check your helmet and go to the pass play.
And Mookie, I'll finish with you on this one.
Yeah, so as far as yards per carry, I'm not worried about that as much as I'm worried about success rate. So for success rate, it's usually described as, say, getting 40% of the yards needed on first down, and then I think 60-something% on second down, and then 100% on third and fourth down. The Seahawks are really bad at that for most of the season. But since the Rams rematch to now, they've been in the top 10. And I think that if they keep with their average, let's say about 45% of their runs are successful, keeping in mind that this is all encompassing, so it would include like garbage time. Like Velus Jones, unfortunately, kind of hurt the success rate by getting all these carries that had no chance of doing anything at the end of the 49ers game. But the point is, if you are not taking losses, in other words, 1st and 10 becoming 2nd and 11, or you run on 2nd and 10 and it becomes 3rd and 8, then I think you're in pretty good shape. And that's what I think is key for Seattle, is if the run game is good enough to justify continuing to run, then I think you're living large. And I believe that the Seahawks run game, based on how they've looked the last several weeks, has found something. And we've been having these like false dawns, right? It looked like that Cardinals game, the second one, that is. It looked like, did they find a running game? There was that one drive where they literally ran the ball 100% of the time, kicked a field goal, and it was like 41-15 or something like that. And that felt like the dawn of the Seahawks rushing attack. And it coincided with Sundell getting hurt. Well, Sundell is back, and the running game is going well. Eric Saubert's return, I think, has been big. And Robbie Oots is looking more like a fullback who's getting comfortable in his essentially a new role. Now, with that said, Oots is a little bit iffy with that neck injury, which I think put him on IR already. So him being limited twice, I'll be paying attention to that. But it seems like Kubiak and the coaching staff have figured out a way to get this running game to be more consistent. And it isn't even just the running backs. We're also seeing Rashid Shaheed get the odd carry, and it can turn into an explosive play.
It's crazy.
Yeah. It's been working. Like there's only been like 1 or 2 plays that have just been completely blown up. So yes, this running game, which we've been dying to see improve for years now, looks like it is finally hitting its stride. And I think that it's going to continue this weekend.
Yeah, the thing with Oots is I saw the play. It looked like he got a really bad stinger because he kind of walked off the field and his arm was hanging like just kind of there. And so it was, again, you saw him on the sideline. Hopefully he's okay, but I think that's what he ended up with. I'm kind of with you guys in this. Like the biggest thing for me is Seattle has to stay out of 3rd and long. So you just need to have positive run success early on in this game. And to your point, Brandon, like if the Rams are being affected by it enough, and Shula's counter is to roll down that safety into the box, you're one basically small crease away with a canine of ripping that and just you're gone down the sideline. We've seen him do it to the Chargers. We've seen him do it to other teams. This is to me where I look at it and I kind of go, the run game for Seattle, even if it doesn't post the numbers necessarily, but has its moments of being as effective as it is going to cause that Rams defense a whole lot of problems if it opens up the pass game, because the thing that we've seen is this play action game constantly, when it has the ability to function, is one of the more deadly ones in the NFL at getting JSN. And, as we saw against the 49ers, Cooper Kupp came alive finally for the first time this year, really, which was a good sight to see. But let's take a kind of discussion point to the one thing that we have in this that the Rams certainly don't have, in my opinion, and that's the dark side and the dark side of this defense. And, for you guys, when you look at what Mike's been able to do with this defense in such a short period of time, and I got to add, the Seahawks PR crew has done such a fantastic job. That video they put out with him 21 months ago in the team meeting in that small clip, that gave me goosebumps watching that video. It was something different. But, you know, do you guys think in this case from Seattle's defense, do they win this game by the pressure factor, Mike doing his disguises and what he likes to do, or is it simply going to be based off of the coverage discipline? And Brandon, I'll start with you.
Probably more coverage discipline than anything else, I would say. Blitzing Stafford is something the teams did a lot of early on in the year. It's gone away a little bit through the course of the year. Now the last two opponents this playoffs have hyper blitzed the hell out of him a little bit. I think the Bears had luck with it until they didn't, and that's the issue there with it. Is it's like looks great, but then you're late in the game and you're running a casino blitz and leaving Puka Nacua wide open. It's not the best way of going about the Stafford attack to me. So it comes down to more coverage for me, and I think specifically the thing I'd look for is more man-based coverage concepts, more leaning into press coverage. I'm not so sure that this Rams receiving core separates right now. I don't think Devontae Adams is 100%. I don't think Puka Nacua is 100%. They're 32nd in the NFL in average separation per route, and that's through the entire season as it is before these presumptive injuries are at play. And so I would say, hey, show me that you can separate with these guys against our cornerbacks. Show me they're better mano-a-mano. And then I think that's going to give your defensive line time. And I think it's going to make it more of a struggle than for Stafford to find openings. You're going to throw things more into tighter windows at that time and try to, trust the trust throws to Puka, for instance. And I'd rather live that way than trying to fine tune and think ahead of them on zones and like, we'll roll these guys to the zone on this landmark at the field here. Cause that's what it becomes a little bit. We saw that in the first matchup where it's all about you dropping to landmarks to try to anticipate the route concepts you think you're going to get. And now there's a bunch of communication that has to lock in prior to the snap to get to that place. First, you man up, you impress, you know what you know, and you're still going to have your guys in this defense in the back end to keep it clean. So that's where I would probably try to lean if I could from an attack. I would say the one thing I want to put in this, shock blitzes. You saw last week what the Bears would do is Stafford comes up and does that fast snap crap where he lines up, boom, here comes the snap. And then the Bears countered that with some instant blitzes. We did a good job of this in the first matchup when they did this with the up tempo of then drawing in a blitz off the back of that, even though the prior play we didn't blitz. Like it was an automatic function you had in. So have some of those dialed up just to kind of, sprinkle them in a little bit, but man up and shut them down.
Dan, what about you?
I don't know if you can put the graphic up that I just put down there in the share at the bottom, but yeah, I'm with. I think it's coverage. I do just it's a gut feeling. I expect McDonald to come out and not dial up a lot of blitzes early and just kind of play back and play coverage and try to pressure with 4 and do what they do in their base. Which when I say base, I mean their nickel. And just kind of match up with them that way and play coverage on the back end. I mean, this is insane. 3 out of the top 5 coverage corners in the entire league in dime packages this season were all Seahawks. I mean, they can cover. And, we've seen the new and improved version of Rick Woolen and how many problems he causes. And even in that week 11 game, Devontae Adams had 1 catch. It was for a touchdown. He had 1 catch. I just think they're so dialed in right now. They're playing together so well. They're communicating so well. Everything's married on the back end and the front end. It's as I get more sophisticated and learn more about how to watch coaches tape, it is like watching a ballet when you watch their defense on all 22 and how they all work in sync and they're all watching each other and they know what happens and they can anticipate even from the other side of the field and come over and help. I'll say it again. There's no way that they throw for 400 yards in this game. And I think what we saw week 16 was that Rams offense kind of ran up and down the field in the first half. The second half, it really dialed some things in. The Seahawks did. And I think there was one stretch there where it was 4 out of 5 drives. They ended up punting. I think it's going to be a little bit more evenly dispersed throughout the game. I think they're going to punt the ball a couple times in the first half. That's what I'm trying to say. I just think the defense is going to be more consistently successful in this game than they were week 16.
All right, Mookie, I'm going to go to you because I'm going to give the coaching perspective on what terrifies me more. So I will let you go next with your thoughts on this.
Yeah, I think that the coverage is going to be, to me, the more important aspects of this because Stafford, even though we've been seeing him get pressured a fair bit more lately. He still can deliver some great throws that you just got to do. You got to tip your cap, golf clap, do whatever, because he's just that kind of quarterback. And there could be as much pressure as you could possibly give, and he'll just find a way to hit an open target or fit it in a tight window, as Brandon has alluded to. That's kind of the difference between Stafford and Brock Purdy, where Purdy kind of needs a lot of things to happen for him to function more consistently, whereas Stafford is not in that same spot. Not to say that Stafford likes pressure, it's just that in pressure situations, Stafford is more capable of delivering a big moment than Purdy. But what we saw in the second game, way too many coverage busts, which may go right in line with what McDonald alluded to as far as kind of just putting too much into their heads. Because it's one thing if Puka's beating you for 200-something yards. It's another thing when like Terrence Ferguson, Davis Allen, Jordan Whittington, and Xavier Smith are getting wide open on your defense too. And that was happening quite a bit in that previous match. So if Puka was doing a lot of damage, and he's an elite receiver, but when the others, especially when Devontae Adams isn't even playing, are finding ways to get open on your secondary, and there's some miscommunications between the safeties or the linebackers, like Drake Thomas, I'm pretty sure had a couple of issues. Niki Minwari was certainly picked on at times in the second Rams game. Then it's something that to me has to be cleaned up. And if that gets cleaned up, then I like the Seahawks' chances to limit the damage that the Rams offense can do, because I'm sure that the pressure is going to get there at some point. I would like to see them blitz a little more without being reckless about it. I certainly don't want to do what the Bears did. Like, that was an all-time bad heat check moment from Dennis Allen. Like, they only need a few yards for a first down. Okay, I'm going to do this all-out blitz, but I'm also going to play off on Puka Nacua. Like, Stafford isn't going to do exactly what everybody else in the world thought he was going to do. Like, that's mindless. McDonald's not going to do that. But I would like to see some more sim pressures, a little bit more blitzing. I'd like to see some backside, blindside pressures on Stafford as well, and see how that goes. But yes, I think that the coverage is going to be huge. And if they play more man, I'm supportive of it. Just like I was with the San Francisco game. The second San Francisco game, they played above their season average in terms of man coverage, because I knew with Pearsall out, no reason to respect these other dudes. Pearsall played, and it still didn't matter in the rematch. But against the Rams, we know that they're going to be Puka. We know that there's going to be Devontae Adams. This is not prime Devontae Adams. As much as he's been loading up on the receiving touchdowns, in terms of actual week-to-week productivity, this is not the same guy that he was in Green Bay. With Nacua, he will eat up just about any zone defense, but one-on-one, he doesn't have that kind of wow speed to separate consistently. And I would hope that McDonald puts Woolen on Puka more than we saw in the last meeting, where I felt that Joe was in coverage with him way too much. So yes, the coverage adjustments, I think, are going to be the one big thing to watch here.
So from a coaching perspective, I can scheme up plays to deal with pressure. I can teach quarterbacks how to find cues in disguise. It's hard to teach quarterbacks to throw against really good coverage, because you can throw a guy open all you want, but if you're dealing with 3 to 4 to 5 guys in the secondary that can play well together, that understand what their strengths are, and you don't have things in your receiving core that take advantage of where their strengths are or their weaknesses, I should say, it makes it really hard. And in this situation with, Job and Witherspoon and, Reek, you don't have Tutu Atwell is not going to burn by Reek Woolen. It's just not going to happen. The size there, everything. It's not something where you're looking at that going, yeah, I've got a guy that's comparable and can do that. Like T.O. or Randy Moss is not walking out with the Rams tomorrow to really pose a challenge. The Rams are going to struggle getting separation, especially downfield. And when you have good coverage, it kind of rolls back to the pressure, because if Stafford's got to hold that ball that second longer, it allows our guys to get home. And the other thing that tight coverage does to a quarterback is it tries to make you be perfect. Instead of playing a little bit freer, throwing that ball out there that second earlier for anticipation, you hold it till you see it. And that's where sometimes you can get some of these quarterbacks that are guys that do throw with good anticipation, that do go and throw, on time and in rhythm, where they go, it's getting knocked down all the time. Okay, you know what? I'm going to hang on to it second till that, Nacua puts some separation between him and Spoon. And those are some of the areas where I agree with you guys. The coverage aspect is the biggest part. If our guys can lock up, play man, and just frustrate the Rams' timing and the receiving, it's going to make Stafford hang on to the ball longer. And it's not something an OC or a play caller can be like, yeah, I'm going to this. Like, you can try and run rub concepts. You can try and do layers to things, but it's all about that rhythm, that 1, 2, 3, my foot's in the ground and that ball's coming out. Or here's my progression. But if they're not getting away in the progression, and you know what the Rams like to do, they love to run their deep ins and their basic or over routes over top that gain depth as they go across the field. But when you're trying to run that against Reek Wolin, and he has a history of undercutting those, it makes you hesitate as a quarterback. It really does. And that's, to me, where I look at it and I go, yeah, the coverage aspect and whole thing is going to be the biggest part for Seattle. Let's move on to a question here. A couple of them I've got about Sam, and I know Brandon's going to just be, I'm trying to set the fire for Brandon on this. I really want to do this because Brandon knows how I feel and I align with him, but I really just want to ask him these just for shits and giggles, because if there are Rams fans out there, I just want him to get the full wrath of Brandon Kane when it comes to Sam Darnold conversation. Okay. So in this situation, Brandon, if Seattle falls behind, do you trust Darnold to bring him back, or do you think he turtles and goes into a shell and the Seahawks fall apart?
He brought him back the last 2 times he's played the Rams. So I kind of already have an example in the very last 2 times you played him doing just that. So, yep, pretty easy on that one.
Dan, what about yourself?
I think last week took the gorilla off Sam's back. It just seemed like a pivotal moment for him, and he just seems much more relaxed. I loved what he said yesterday at the podium about how, hey, if I see a guy open, I'm going to rip it. And I kind of felt like that touchdown to JSN against the Niners last week was sort of that breakthrough moment, like where he just wasn't thinking about it anymore. He wasn't thinking about coverage. He wasn't thinking about, oh shit, what if I, and he just played free and easy. And that's what we saw from him up until week 11. And it's the reason he was in the MVP conversation and top 3 in just about every category among quarterbacks in the league. And then we saw what happened, but I think he's got his mojo back, and he feels, I just don't worry about him having a performance like he did week 11 again. But if he throws an interception or 2, he can overcome it. I don't think it'll set him back. I think we've seen enough goldfish memory moments from him, as Brandon just pointed out, including the last two times against the Rams. I think we'll see a better start from him this time, a better plan for him. And I don't think he's going to be the storyline. I think Saturday was such a cool moment because you just didn't have to talk about Sam. And the talk about him after the game was mostly from Seahawks detractors saying, well, yeah, you won, but Sam only threw for 140 yards or whatever, right? I think he turned a corner, and I think we're going to see it Sunday.
So I disagree with you about one thing you said there, Dan. I think Sam will be a talking point in this game because I think Sam Darnold is going to go off in this game. Right. And there's going to be Rams people that are going to be in our chat right now saying that I'm delusional.
I like your thing better than my thing.
That's fair. I got a prediction on Sam's first touchdown pass on this game because I think Kubiak's going to dial something up that's going to take advantage of Shula and what they've done. I think you're going to see a double move by JSN on something where they're in a 3rd and 7 or 2nd and 7, and the Rams are going to do what they've done, which is sit at the sticks, and you're going to see like a slant and go from JSN that's just going to burn Forbes or whoever's out there because they're going to jump it. And I think it's just going to set kind of like what Shaheed did on the kickoff return. I think that might just be the spark plug moment that sets it off, because I've said this. I've had arguments with people, and people think I'm crazy. I think Sam Darnold's a top 10 NFL quarterback. And I'm not saying he's a top 5 NFL quarterback. I'm not saying he's Josh Allen in that group. But Sam Darnold is 6 through 10. And I always argue with people, name 10 quarterbacks outside, or sorry, 5 quarterbacks, 7 quarterbacks out of the top 4 that everyone names, and Burrow and Allen and Mahomes and Lamar, and say, who are you taking over them? Well, most of those guys aren't even in the playoffs, didn't make the playoffs, and everyone wants to throw them in the conversation. Sam Darnold plays efficient football, and the game manager tag is not a bad tag because guess what? That's a quarterback's job. Your
you can
job is to manage the game.
You can manage to win a Super Bowl doing it that way.
Your job is to manage, and it requires everybody else to do their jobs for you to be successful. Look at Buffalo. You had an elite quarterback, the best quarterback theoretically left in the playoffs. The guy that, the path's clear now. No Mahomes, no Burrow. They've cleared it through, and it's all on you, Josh. What happened to Buffalo? They didn't have a defense. They didn't have pieces around him, and they lost the game. And yes, there were some questionable calls, but I find it so frustrating for myself listening to this conversation because I'm in the same boat. Sam can bring this back. Sam can go back down the field. He threw 2 interceptions and won the game against them in week 16. He probably made 2 of the best throws of his career on that final drive in overtime.
Mm-hmm. I had this conversation with someone just yesterday. Somebody was spouting off online and pinging me on Twitter about how do you guys think you're even going to win on Sunday because you have Sam Darnold? To which I replied, anyone who thinks or doesn't think Sam Darnold is a top 10 quarterback in the NFL right now doesn't know ball, and I'm just not going to debate them. And their answer was, well, oh, really? You think he's top 10? Name the other 9. And instead of that, I posted 10 key metrics that he was like top 6 or 7 in the league, right? Like all of them. And the dude comes back to me with like, yo, you're not going to give me your list of names? I'm like, no, I'm not going to do that because I shouldn't have to. I just showed you. He's top 10 in everything. That makes him a top 10 quarterback right now. And if you're going to give me 10 other names other than Sam Darnold, then you're doing it out of past bias and ancient history and a 5-year sample size. Right now, anyone who doubts that he's a top 10 quarterback in the NFL, I doubt their football knowledge.
Yeah, it's past bias built in on this one at this point. It's why I'm to the point I'm exhausted with the conversation because so much has been so thoroughly proven to the alternative of this. And people act like there's a 3 sample size game of Sam playing well. They're the anti-Sam folks. It's like we're 2 years into this process here. And there's just no giving up any inch on their side. To their eyes, there hasn't been a smidge of improvement. There hasn't been a smidge of gain. And you just come down to the point of what's the point of debating at that point. You're not presenting any argument. You're not countering anything. No. You're just playing a game of moving goalposts and constantly just kind of deriding Sam. And a lot of times mentally, quite frankly, when it's come down to this, less than anything having to do with him physically, that's somehow a limitation, which even more so makes me less likely to listen to what they got to say.
Yeah, it's just... I don't know. I look at this whole conversation and I think it's the goalposts always move. Brandon, you and me have talked about this. The goalposts are constantly moving on Sam Darnold. Anytime he does anything that blows up in the national media's face, oh, he can't win the big game. Well, he's done that back over the Rams. He did that over the Niners and he did it over the Niners again. Oh, well, he's going to be, I just look in the chat here and I laugh and everyone's like, oh, well, Sam's going to cost us the game. Mark my words. Why? Why is he going to cost us the game?
Because he had that one bad game that one time. Yeah.
It's exactly. It's a dumb narrative on that. And I'm kind of over it. But this is the one question I do have. Where is your guys' line for him with aggression versus recklessness with that ball and like say situations for you guys when you look at it? Like, is there a point where Sam gets maybe a little too much of the let it rip versus the, hey, we need to temper this off and hit the check down? And Mookie, I'll start with you.
I think some of his interceptions come from being a little bit aggressive. You know what's odd? I don't think he's had a single pick this year that was an overthrow. It's actually been the case of him either getting jumped in coverage or a tip ball, or he's undercooked at like the first pick he ever threw for the Seahawks, which was the Cooper Kupp, and Jalen Ramsey just was all over and he picked it. So otherwise, I think he has a little bit of Favre in him in as far as quarterbacking, in that he can have that gunslinger mentality. It's hard to eradicate. I don't want it eradicated. As much as Russell Wilson at his best was a very enjoyable quarterback to watch, he had a very unreasonable definition of what an open receiver was. And like his idea of risk was like throw a ball 40, 50 yards down the field. And if it doesn't work, then, it's an arm punt, worst case scenario. But part of what made Russ a less viable quarterback as the years progressed and as his mobility got worse is him not wanting to throw into tight windows in the middle of the field. And Darnold can do that. That is exactly what we've been kind of wanting for years, that part of the field unlocked. And, there was a throw in this 49ers game that I think gets overlooked because the game was functionally over by then. It might have even been his last pass attempt of the game. It was a short throw to Cooper Kupp. It was in the third quarter. You can look it up on NFL Pro.
Is it when he ran the over route, Mookie, behind JSN and he ripped it into that tight window?
And Lenore, I think,
Yes.
was about to get a hand on that. And I thought that is a perfect throw. Is it on the riskier side, given the number of yards it could have gained? Yeah, but can you do it? Absolutely. So he's been more willing to be cautious. Like his first pass of last week was a check down to Kenneth Walker on 2nd and 6, and it gained 8 yards. So we're starting to see him take that check down more often, not panic and look for the big play. In a way, the fact that defenses have gone big play preventing instead of big play hunting to make the Seahawks be more methodical with their passing game, it might be a benefit to Darnold in a way, because the deep shots haven't been high volume attempts. They've been, in some cases, not even trying to. But it has forced him to play a style of quarterback that I think is more sustainable moving forward. Like all the deep ball stuff is cool, but if he can just eat his vegetables, so to speak, then that's another check mark as far as Darnold's development. And, quarterbacks can get better over time. It's odd that Jared Goff, and I call him Goof. I know he's very capable of these sorts of, I just can't get that Rams stuff out of the way from his rookie season. But even he is clearly a much better quarterback now than he was in his first year with Sean McVay. So your reputation can be changed over time. I'm just kind of curious as to why some fans don't want to give, Seahawks fans that is, want to give Sam that same benefit of the doubt. Because with Geno, we've kind of fought this battle before too. I don't want to deal with another quarterback. It's like, I know Russ is the standard, but we're watching Sam play at a pretty high level. Not saying he's MVP caliber or anything, but he's doing a lot of very good quarterback things.
Can I legitimately ask a question? Why is Russ the standard? I'm asking from someone that's watched the position from years, because Russ won a Super Bowl on a team where we had a defense and elite run game. When Russ was the quote unquote standard, we didn't go to Super Bowls. We didn't win a lot of playoff games. And I'm not trying to shit on Russell Wilson here, so don't take it as that's what I'm doing. But why is Russell the standard? Because he won one championship. So did Trent Dilfer. That's my point here. It wasn't like Russ was leading us to these Super Bowls on his back, carrying us there. He was, in essence, being carried by the LOB and Marshawn Lynch. When I look back at a quarterback in Seattle's history, I look at it and go, yeah, he might have done a little bit more to help his team get there. Is Matt Hasselbeck. Yes, Sean had a fantastic year and that run game, but they didn't have some elite defense that was the top defense in NFL history at that point. He had to make a lot of the plays with that passing game for it to be effective. How many times did we see the Russell Wilson passing offense completely die in 2013? That's my question, though. That's why I sit here. When people always want to throw the Russ standard out there, I kind of push back on it going, why is he the standard? Because he won a Super Bowl? That shouldn't make you the standard. And it's the whole thing with QB wins, and it just infuriates the shit out of me. And I'm not getting hot with you guys. It's just when I see that in the chat from Seahawk fans, it drives me absolutely bonkers. And I can see the smile on Brandon's face down in the corner a little bit down there.
Brother, yeah. Sorry, go ahead, Mookie.
I was going to say, he's the standard because he's got basically all the meaningful passing records. I'm talking about as a pure quarterback. There are some issues with Russ that we grew tired of over time. It's the fact that he was such a dynamic dual threat guy. But as his mobility started to go, and it was more of, you got to be quarterback first and scrambler and read option guy second, that's when things started to steadily erode. He was great in 2018, 2019 on worse teams. But once 2020 hit and everybody kind of figured out how to, at least the good teams, figured out how to limit Wilson, we saw that those flaws that were kind of even there back in 2012 and 2013 completely unraveled, and it accelerated his decline. Now, in terms of a pure passer, like regular quarterback things, pure drop back passing situations where you have to play on time, on schedule, he probably isn't the standard for Seahawks football, because Hasselbeck didn't have that mobility, but he absolutely knew how to play on time in Mike Holmgren's West Coast offense. If Russell Wilson played in Mike Holmgren's offense, Holmgren would have pulled all his hair out by the sixth game. But with Hasselbeck, he knew eventually, as he got better, set, read, and fire. And maybe that's what we're kind of getting with Darnold. And why I find Darnold enjoyable to watch this year is how on time the offense looks when it's going well, where Darnold doesn't have to improvise as much. And he also isn't setting his own fires. Wilson made some amazing plays, and some of it was also his own doing. and he's getting himself out of his hole. But yeah, the quarterback discourse is kind of boring at this point. Like, I don't care if Sam Darnold it doesn't reach the standard like 3 years from now. Like, I want to worry about now. Is he good enough to win a Super Bowl now? I think he is. And as far as getting to a Super Bowl, it's like, oh yeah, I'm not going to lie. Stafford is clearly a better quarterback than Sam, just on body work and everything else. But you know what? The Seahawks have a better team than the Rams. In the same way that the 49ers play the Packers in the NFC Championship game a few years ago, and Jimmy Garoppolo throws like 8 passes the entire game. Was he a better quarterback than Aaron Rodgers? Absolutely not. So Sam works for this team. And as far as I'm concerned, he's going to be the guy for the next couple of years at the very least. And I think fans just want the shiny new toy in the box. And that to me, that's kind of the biggest thing, is that we've gone so long since the Russ days of, hey, we found this guy in the draft. We wanted to be a quarterback for the next decade or so. Well, that's one way, and it's the most common way, but it is not the only way to build a contender.
All right, guys, now that I seemingly have stirred up a whole bunch of stuff in the chat with my fiery take there and such, let's get into the chat and the Q&A here, because we've got a whole bunch of super chats to get to, and there's over 1,200 people watching the show, so thank you all for watching the show tonight. Appreciate it. Let's start with Peter here, and I'm going to change the screen so we don't lose Brandon's beautiful face down there, unfortunately. It's a little cut off, Brandon. I apologize. But Peter GoHawks comes in with a $5 donation, goes, Brando, you missed my last one on the B&B show. When Rams lose 38-10, does Stafford retires next year, do you think they move up to draft Mendoza?
No. I think the Raiders are going to be dead set on taking Mendoza first off. I think there's also teams like the Browns that'd be more than willing to throw more assets than what the Rams could offer to trade up, because they've got multiple first-round picks as well. So they would get superseded in that. I think Burrow would be the guy that they would take a run at. Him, or I think Burrow would be the guy that they'd run at. I think they'd throw, hey, Bengals, what'll take? Here's 2 first-round picks this year, a first-round pick next year, and we'll throw in a franchise tagged Byron Young that you have to pay. What do you say? And I think that they would potentially bite the Bengals this offseason.
That's fair. I think I just Mendoza doesn't seem to fit, I think, what McVay wants in a way either. I think he's a little too RPO based, and I have my own scouting report on Mendoza, but I think the Burrow thing makes a lot more sense in a lot of ways. We got
Sorry, Mr. Don't Know too, man. My bad on that. Sometimes it's just so right.
Brandon gets a lot of them. Okay, I have been in the chats and I see them, and sometimes I wonder myself, did I get in here too late? Because Brandon's been at this for 5 hours. Dogzilla Monster comes in with a $2 donation. Goes, how much Bitcoin is Dan betting on in the game? Oh, Dogzilla
Dan sold all of his Bitcoin. He sold all of it immediately.
Oh God, it's all gone.
For those who don't know what that's about, always count on Dogzilla to stir things up. But I did see some people in the comments say something, so they obviously don't know, but my channel was hacked a couple of days ago. It's going to be fully restored completely. I'm not going to lose any subscribers or views or revenue or anything else. It just takes longer than I would like it to. I've gotten my Google account back. The YouTube page takes a little bit longer, so it should be up in the next couple of days. That's why you're not seeing this on my channel tonight. So it was taken over by a site that ran big Bitcoin live streams and stuff. That's where the joke comes from. I'm not a gambler, not interested in Bitcoin. Maybe that's just because I could never afford it to begin with. But I like to know exactly what my money is and what it looks like and how much it's worth. So I don't mess with that stuff.
No, that's fair, Dan. Joe Smith comes in tonight. I dine on lamb soup. Well, I hope it's delicious lamb soup.
I'm telling you, of all there's every fan base has a derogatory nickname for their rival, right? Like Seahawks fans call the 49ers the 40 whiners. Everyone calls them the sea chickens, which I always thought was just the dumbest. It's not even creative. It doesn't rhyme. It's not punny, whatever. Lamb is elite level making fun of nickname, a twist on Rams. It's brilliant. Whoever came up with it first.
Do we have anything for the Cardinals? Are they even worthy of that?
They're not. No, they're not.
No, just
nobody can trouble themselves. Why go through the effort?
Oh, that was mean. That was mean.
Cardinals.
I'm going to get a bunch of Cardinal hate now, which I'm okay with. But
a bunch of Cardinal hate? How many fans do you think Arizona has?
Well, Well, it's an ever sliding
maybe
down
that's
scale
true,
with
but
the
maybe I'm
retirement
just, who knows?
community out there. 'Cause
Chad
it's
Hart
like
comes in with
they're here today, not there tomorrow, kind of thing. Yeah.
Fair enough. Chad comes in with, I've been watching all the press conferences and I'm very optimistic. Hawks 31, Rams 17. That's a good one. We got Addicted to Hawks comes in. I'm always excited to see the four heads of the family discussing the Rams problems. Wonder if Gray Zabel is the Syndicate's version of Luca Brasi.
We send him out. He goes out there and does work for us. He's a good young man.
I still believe, guys, our final Syndicate, we kind of, if they win the Super Bowl, we kind of got to dress up as the four heads of the family.
Might have to do it.
We'll see. Check back.
Shave his stash off. He doesn't have a beard, but yeah.
Our moderator in the chat here for the Hawkeye, Amy Holmes, goes, I have 3 events this weekend, 3 different pods. I'm tired already. We better win. That is fair. There's a lot going on.
Do it for Amy. Seahawks.
Yeah,
please.
Yeah, get your shit together, Seahawks, and do it for Amy. Oh, this is funny. CK Seahawk comes in. Now, don't come on here with a Southern drawl, Bryce. I was on a Louisiana-based show prior to this with On the Go with Haas, and yeah, there is definitely. Maybe I will next time. Maybe I will come in with a Southern draw like that after we've been down in Mobile for a couple of days down there, guys. I think that's a possibility. What do you think?
Rubs off.
It does. We've got a $5 donation in here from Hawksaholic. Goes, I feel pretty excited and confident about Sunday, except for the left tackle injury situation and biased ass referee Clay Martin officiating. Go Hawks. How do you guys feel about the left tackle situation? I got a feeling Cross is playing. It sounds pretty much they're doing the same thing that they're doing with Sam, which is like there's no need to practice him unless they have to. How do you feel about the backup depth behind it, though? Because I think it was Hawk Blogger that asked today about what their plan is behind, and Mike didn't really allude to anything.
Said they have a plan.
They have a plan. I got a feeling Amari Kite's going to be able to go. Just
I do too. But for the sake of your question, though, if he's not, and if he and Jones are both out, who do you think that the next plan is? For me, even though they haven't had him playing much tackle, but I don't think any of the other options are any better. For continuity's sake, I'm going to stick Mason Richmond over there and try and help him out with a tight end. Dude started 4 years at Missouri, and he's the only other person ever to do that was Tristan Wirfs, and he turned out to be a pretty good player. So that's the guy I'm putting there because I think he's the most comfortable there.
Brandon, what about you?
Yeah, I'm pretty open. I think that there's a little bit of much ado about nothing when it all gets said and done. It's a little bit like the Sam Darnold oblique thing. It's a great story, but this is going to come down to game time and not really matter that much. I don't think we're going to come out of this game going, we got decimated at our left tackle position, and that's how we lost this game.
The one thing I don't think we'll see, there's a lot of talk about, well, Gray Zabel played left tackle for a year. Jalen Sundell played left tackle for a year. No, because now you're robbing from 2 spots, right? You just stick someone else in there, even if it's hey, maybe it's Logan Brown. Like he played right tackle at Kansas. He didn't play left tackle for them. That was Bryce Cable do, I've got that wrong. Cable did right tackle for Kansas, right? Yeah, Logan Brown's a guy that I was ecstatic that we got on the practice squad when we did midway through the season. Really liked what he did at the Senior Bowl. He's got some good tape. He's got stuff to work on, but he's big, he's long, he's played at a pretty high level. If both those guys can't go, it'd be interesting to see if they activate him at least.
So if they were to ever do the Zabel thing, like, how you were saying there, Dan, I wouldn't move Zabel. You know who I'd throw on the left side, honestly, is Abe Lucas. And I'd put someone at right tackle. Oof. Like if I had to get that desperate with it, that's what I'm probably doing, because I feel like putting a Richmond or someone that's not necessarily as experienced as a right tackle, at least Sam can see it. We're talking about the left side. Abe played it in college.
Yeah, I do wonder, though, based on McDonald's answer today, that they have a plan. Which what else is he going to say? I do wonder if the move would be Olu in at center, Sundell out to left tackle, because he spent the entire offseason, anytime he was asked or even unprompted at times, telling us that Jalen Sundell, one of the things they value so much about him is he can play all 5 spots. I do wonder if that might be the move if it comes to that.
Be interesting. We've got a donation over from the Hawks Nest from Holy Hand Grenade. Goes $5 donation. Possible head coaching Super Bowl matchups: Sean versus Sean, Mike versus Mike, Sean versus Mike, and Sean versus Mike.
Mike and Mike. I think it'll be Mike and Mike.
Yeah, I can't believe the NFL social media account just blew up my mentions because I said that how do we end up with a conference championship weekend with 2 Seans and 2 Mikes as head coaches? And the 2 coaches from this postseason who ended up leaving their teams are Sean McDermott and Mike Tomlin. And I guess we might as well mention it, that this head coaching thing is getting more interesting with Jesse Minter going to Baltimore. So, like, we're really close to thinking Kubiak actually stays. Like, if the Raiders don't get him, I don't think Arizona's ever shown much interest in Kubiak.
I don't think he takes that job.
Yeah.
I think he's too smart for that. I think it's Raiders or bust.
Yep.
It's, for me, honestly, like, it's really funny too, because if it's the 2 Seans in the Super Bowl, it's the only 2 coaches left with Super Bowl head coaching experience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it would be a chance for Peyton to be the first to ever win a Super Bowl with 2 different teams. But let's face it, if Jarrett Stidham pulls that off over 2 weeks, then that's an all-time coaching job. But let's be realistic here. They may be able to upset New England just off the back of their defense and their offensive line, but like 2 wins, that's probably 1 step too many.
Peter Go Hawks comes in with headed to Hawk Talk live tomorrow in Kraken gear. Thank you, $2 donation. And he comes back with another $2 donation. Goes, Holani is going to be
Peter.
a hell of a 1-2 punch with Walker. Sorry, what was that, Brandon?
Oh, just thank you for the dono.
Oh, thank you for the dono. Yeah, and here's the next one. Goes, Holani is going to be a hell of a 1-2 punch with Walker. Yeah, it's going to be a different one. I think it could be an interesting one, Dan and Mookie, and you guys all alluded to it earlier. And thank you for the dono, Peter.
I'm just glad he's back.
Yeah.
I'd be a lot more nervous about this game if we're looking at, Cam Akers, Velus Jones behind Ken Walker.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Akers
Agreed.
and Jones are both on the practice squad, right? So basically, as long as Holani's back, only one of those 2 is going to be playing on Sunday. Like, you either elevate Jones or you elevate Akers. You don't have to do both.
Yeah.
We got Kenobi in here with another $2 donation. Goes, what's up with the left tackle situation, boys? And we kind of just talked about it.
Mhm.
It's a situation where we expect Charles Cross to play, and probably Amari Kite's going to be the backup, but they do have a plan just in case. So,
yeah, Jason
that's
Peters
definitely-
is working in the front
Jason
office.
Peters.
That's just in case.
Oh, man.
Hey,
Just
you
as
know
a-
what? Phillip Rivers came back. Just suit up Walter Jones at this point if we need it.
Hey,
Yeah.
he's lost a bunch of weight, but Justin Britt's in really good shape these days. I don't know if you guys have been keeping up with his marathon running, but
Yeah.
his lateral movement might be a little bit better than it was during his playing.
He can
days.
play tight end now the way he's built.
He actually was campaigning for that a little bit. Yeah, he kind of, I'm sure, half jokingly, he was like, "Hey, John, if you need a tight end, I'm out here."
WD Ford comes in with, I'm unreasonably high on Shaheed, so I'm trying to chill. It's tough though.
Can you share? Can you share some of that? Can you pass some of the Shaheed around then?
Yeah,
Yeah, no
we'll be
kidding.
reasonably high for the rest of this broadcast. But
Yeah, no
Yeah.
kidding. No kidding.
You should be WD. It's one of those X factors in this game that could really come out and suddenly go, oh yeah, he was
Have
ready
you
to
guys-
explode for
Yeah,
this kind
there's
of
a
game.
reason we gave up that 4th and 5th outside of his kick returning ability.
Have you guys seen, because now it's the offseason for the 49ers and they're all like, their Twitter verse is all filled with the moves they want to make this offseason. And all the 49er fans think that they're going to go take Shaheed from us in free agency.
They also think
And
that
then
they're
doesn't
gonna
like to
make
throw
some
deep.
massive
Purdy
deal
doesn't have the
from-
arm to throw deep.
Yeah.
The Shaheed deal gets done in February.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It gets done in February for sure. We got another one here from SoCal Ram 88. Goes, Rams win, Brando. Why kid yourself? We all know it, for a
Cancel
$2
the game.
donation.
Cancel the game.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'll say it. The Rams fans, all I've heard from you guys is kind of like Mystique Stafford, Mystique Puka, Mystique McVay. That's how we win. We can sit here and from our perspective, from a Seahawks standpoint, go, well, we're playing better ball. We're going to get you here. We're better there. We're more talented here. We're a little healthier there. And we can go through all the breakdowns of that. But I got to say, from Ram fans, what I've seen universally, even the trolls in our comments tonight, none of you guys are coming in with a lot of like well-articulated ideas as to how you're going to take this thing down. It just comes down to just like, just Stafford, McVay. Well, yeah, they're great. And they're not those. I'm not knocking those guys, but that's not necessarily you breaking down how you individually win this or overcoming some of the parts that we talk about. Your inability to defend the run, which you didn't do a couple of weeks ago. Your inability to defend the big run against Walker with the 55-yarder, which you didn't do a couple of weeks ago. And the things we talk about with Darnold, even as we make the case here, it's not that this has been this way all the way throughout the year with Darnold. It's that you've seen the transition of Darnold this past 8 weeks. So I would be more on board with hearing what you Rams had to say fans wise and selling me onto your side of this and that you guys can win this game or that you're going to win this game. But I would like to see a little bit more from you guys actually bringing up the individual points rather than just being like, this guy, awesome. He going to do good. That's not much of an argument, right?
Or you suck. I mean, that's
yeah. Or you suck. You guys suck. Never. Yeah. It just doesn't move my needle at all. And I guess the longer I go through this week, the less I hear from actual random fans pointing to actual individual points from this game as to how you're carrying this win. I think you guys have got it. I'm not saying a mass saying all the Rams, but a lot of my interactions I've had have kind of boiled down to that. It sounds like very similar for you guys on your side, what you're dealing with. And hey, good. I'm glad you feel your team on it. But if you're going to feel your team, you should be able to elucidate a variety of different reasons as to how that happens. Like you can go to the run game, for instance, with McVay and go, we can run the ball on you. Your light box. Yeah, but does McVay stay committed to it? Because even Ram fans would acknowledge he doesn't. And that's the problem with playoff football. Yeah, that's the problem with playoff football is you come in playoff football, what you are in the regular season becomes what you are in the postseason. There's no mystique of becoming something of just you turn on a button and suddenly now you're a new version of yourself. You are what you were from the regular season. Rams are a good team. But the flaws that were there with them in the regular season, firing your special teams coach that late into the year. And yes, you could feel it in the playoff game when they had the Bears where the Bears punted and they didn't even put a guy back there to receive the punt because they were so worried about having their punt blocked because they didn't trust their unit. That stuff carries over. And those are the points that I don't get from Rams fans. And I got to say, I'm kind of surprised because most time you guys do tend to come up with that stuff. And maybe it just speaks to some of the own fear in your heart, knowing you don't have tangible reasons you can clutch to, but instead it just comes down to, well, just our superstar quarterback will just make it happen. And we'll see.
Here's the thing. I look at the game against the Bears, for an example, and even the wild card game versus the Panthers. And I have not looked at Sean McVay's play calling in either of those situations and been like, yeah, that's the Sean McVay that is on top of his shit right now. It's like there's something wrong there because, again, the Bears can't stop the run. And you didn't run the ball well enough in that game. You got all pass happy in bad temperatures. And again, if the Bears kick 2 field goals at the beginning of the game, there is an overtime. That game is over. Like you guys have, and to the point, Brandon, again, I would love to have educated conversations with Rams fans that bring viable ways of, hey, how are we taking down the Seahawks defense? We're going to do this. We're going to run these type of things. This is where McVay is going to get. It's none of that. It's exactly the mystique. And we have Rams fans going, well, Stafford's been to Super Bowls. No, it's not plural. It's one. He's been to 1 Super Bowl in his entire NFL career. 1. Other than that playoff run, he has been a very unsuccessful playoff quarterback in a lot of ways. Yes, he made the NFC Championship game last year, but didn't have a lot of playoff success in Detroit. Has the 1 run, and then basically they've kind of been a team that's been around, but not a lot. So what are we banking on here?
He had none. He literally never won a playoff game in Detroit, including a loss to Seattle, like 26-6. And then, basically, his Hall of Fame, the push for him to be in the Hall of Fame. At this point, I'm not going to downplay it. Like, if he wins MVP, which is looking pretty likely, and they win the Super Bowl, full credit to him. That probably nails on Hall of Fame status for him. I don't think a single person was advocating for Matthew Stafford, Hall of Fame quarterback, prior to when he was traded to the Rams. Like, he would have gone down as like a good quarterback on a cursed franchise. But ever since he went to Los Angeles, like all this has just been gassed up. And don't forget, he missed a lot of 2022 with injury. So we're kind of basing it on unsuccessful playoff trips with the Lions and then a few years with the Rams. And look, he's been a very good quarterback for much of his career, but this Hall of Fame stuff only emerged very recently. And I guess that's the benefit of being in a market that is so highly coveted in Los Angeles versus staying in Detroit.
Agreed. But let's get back to our Q&As here, boys, and our donos and super chats. But we got one here from Diego. Goes, love Mookie's articles on field goals. There's some love for you, Mookie, in the field goals group over there. So thank you for that, Diego. We've got Peter back in with another $5 donation. Peter, thank you so much for the support tonight, man. Love it. Goes, they might kick to Holani. We should do a reverse to Shaheed on a kickoff or punt. Thoughts, panel? You guys are killing it. Love the discussion you guys have. Thank you again, Peter, for the donation. What do you guys think about a reverse or a trick play on special teams?
As long as it's not Cooper Kupp trying to throw the football. Let's just mothball that one.
No, Dan.
How about we just don't? Just no trick plays. You want to do a little jet sweep. I don't consider that a trick play anymore. That's kind of a base a base play in a lot of these schemes. I don't know. We've seen the return of the hook and ladder in the league over the last 3 weeks, right? I think we've seen 3 successful instances of that play being run. We saw back-to-back flea flickers from the 49ers and back-to-back, within 2 weeks, although neither of them went anywhere. Who knows? Maybe. Yeah, maybe.
You know what I like is I like the thought of a fake punt in this game. You got them so caught up in like making sure they got other details on point in those moments. This would be the kind of moment where I think they would think it'd be the last thing on their mind. And we haven't run it all year long. Speaking
of the old Lions with Stafford, wasn't he still in Detroit wasn't that where Dixon had his big, wasn't that against the Lions in Detroit?
Ran it out of the back end zone.
Shadow his own goal line, just decided to take it. Yeah.
So here's
a little hesitation, little hezzy there before he crossed. He wanted to give him a chance. He's like, this is too easy.
Mm-hmm.
I've got a thought about, like, to Brandon's point, they are going to be terrified of Shaheed, right? That's what they're going to be scared of. They're going to want to get down and cover. I think there's an opportunity for a blocked punt in this game, like a massive swing opportunity for them to have a blocked punt, because they're going to be so worried about the fact they actually have to the guy that ruined their hopes in week 16, and a guy that's so dangerous. You sometimes almost overthink it and send extra coverage down, or guys leave early to get down there. There's an opportunity maybe for Jay Harbaugh to take advantage of that and have a block set up.
Well, I also wonder about with the threat of Shaheed on kickoff returns, if they just kick it out of the end zone and we start at the 35 every time. Like that could be huge over the course of a 60-minute game.
Yeah, and they blocked a punt against the Rams last year in the loss in overtime. Like, that was one of the few good moments from the last year's special teams unit.
We got another $5 donation here from the Lord's Disciple. Goes, will playoff experience play a role in this game? Being in these big moments for coaching staff and QB for the Rams, is it an underrated advantage?
No, because the Seahawks of yesteryear went up against a 49ers team that had been at the NFC Championship game 2 years in a row prior. And the moment, other than the first few minutes of the game, Russ fumbling right away, moment wasn't too big for them. And they were able to adjust and go band for band with San Francisco and win at the end. So I don't, just being a better team, I think, is what could be the difference. And also, this Rams team, I know that you've got Puka and Adams and Stafford, some veterans who have been there, done that. But the bulk of their defense only just got drafted 2 seasons ago. They know of nothing regarding the 2021 Super Bowl run. And in fact, I do know one Rams player from the 2021 Super Bowl team who could provide some championship game experience for the Seahawks. His name is Ernest Jones. You might have heard of him lately, but he's somebody
who won a Super Bowl. Yeah.
Yes, he's a Super Bowl champion, Ernest Jones.
All right, we got a few more of these. We got I'd rather be flying an X-Wing with a $2 donation. Goes 3.5 years for the last 4 months. Has Reek shown enough?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm on the Reek train now, and I think the Seahawks are too. I think he's changed his profile and changed their opinion of him, or at least tightened up, kind of clarified their opinion of him. I think they put a full court press on trying to get him signed before free agency opens, because I think if he hits the open market, he might get that J.C. Horn deal. And that might be a little too rich for what the Seahawks can do with some of the other stuff they have going on. But I think they want him here, and I think they pull out all the stops.
Brandon?
Yeah, I think he's made his money. He's made too much money. And I think Walker, you're having to probably come back around and looking at him a little bit even closer than maybe you were thinking potentially from a front office perspective that you were going to before the Charbonnet injury. And I think that more puts him as a guy that could overtake it. Yeah, we got cap space to spend, but Cross already done. JSN needs to get done. Witherspoon needs to get done. We might make a trade for a Crosby in there too, or something like that. That money can go really quick. So it's not inexhaustible, and you're gonna have to make some hard decisions somewhere. There, you don't get to keep everybody. Right. So I think that's probably the guy that goes, and for Dan's reasoning, because he's probably pushed the cost up to a point where John's gonna get uncomfortable, like he did with Shaquille Griffin, like he did with DJ Reed. Wanted to keep both those two guys. They end up getting more in the open market. Was what it was. And
they do have they know they can pivot to Josh Jobe and give him a third maybe on an AAV as what Reek would get. Mm-hmm. And it's a pretty solid. We're going to see it more up close next week when we're in Mobile. But it's of all the talk of how down this draft year is, there are some good classes in this draft, and one of the classes that looks pretty pretty decent at this point anyway is corner. So, again, I think they'll try to sign him at their number. That's what they do. They do it really well. Here's what we think you're worth. We're not jacking you around. We're not trying to go back and forth, take it or leave it. You want to go test the market? Cool. Someone's going to pay him in the open market. He won't be a Seahawk at that point. And maybe they pivot and they get job done and they draft a guy.
And don't forget, Nehemiah Pritchett's still there too.
They like him.
There you go.
So, all right, Peter Go Hawks comes in and he says, love these 4 football minds. The Seahawks Syndicate is Hawkin rules. Well played with the words there, Peter. Well played, sir. Free Truth comes in, goes, I love the grasp that they have on the game and they can look at it objectively. We appreciate all the support, guys. It's greatly appreciated from all of us here on the Syndicate.
Comments like that tell me that we're doing it right. Like, we're not like, we get the trolls, we get the comments, whatever, but we're not out there trying to go for the hot take, trying to inflame, trying to just get clicks. This is just the way we view football. And it just so happened that the 4 of us view it the same way. And that's why this works.
I still put Mookie on a different pedestal, guys. He's like Yoda compared to us. And we're all kind of still trying to catch up to the brain that is Mookie Alexander with his football encyclopedia that's there. But
indeed,
WD Ford comes in with another $5 donation. Thank you for the donation. Goes, talk about the impact of health and the rest in conference championship game. Go Hawks. Yeah, like guys, like Dan, you brought it up. Defense is 100% healthy. The offense is pretty healthy outside now. The Sharps injury, and yes, there's some nicks ups and stuff, but overall, this team is pretty healthy going into the championship weekend.
Yeah, and not only did the Rams have to play 2 weeks ago, we didn't. They had to play in Chicago in really cold weather in a game that went 5 quarters. They had to play extra football. Then they fly back. They don't get back into LA until after midnight Pacific Standard Time on Sunday night. So by the time they even start watching tape, they probably watched it on the plane, but until they even can start to recover, the Seahawks are already down the road. They're already breaking down tape. They know who they're going to play. They've had time to rest. And those things, they don't mean everything, but they don't mean nothing. And being fresh this time of year and having that just a little bit extra juice, even if the game maybe is still hanging in the balance in the at halftime, maybe that comes into play then, and the Seahawks might have a little more gas in their tank for sure.
All right, we got one in here from the Hawks Nest side of things over on Brandon's channel from me for $50.
Thank you, me.
That's from you? I don't get it.
I wish.
No, good to see you, me. Thank you.
Three goes 3 of my favorites and Brandon. LOL, JKB.
We know what that.
We know.
Nice.
So jacked up for this upcoming game. As always, go Hawks, go 12s. FU the Rams, smooches.
Amen to that. Amen to that. Go Hawks, me. Thank you for all your support through this year. You've been awesome.
Yes,
Just
thank
awesome.
you, me. You've done a fantastic job supporting all of us. We greatly appreciate your support of all of our channels, really. And it's great to have you here supporting us. So we've got John McGrath, one of the moderators here for the Hawks Eye. I know John's a big contributor over on Dan's channel as well and in the Discord. Goes, I want Cup to go off on his old team so bad. Could Cooper Kupp have a vintage playoff game, guys?
We sort of saw it last week, didn't we? I mean, 5 catches for 60 yards, some of the vintage Kupp plays, that little hole shot Darnold hits early on in the game, that looked like the type of throw and catch that we've seen from Kupp, from Goff and Stafford in years past. But, Cooper Kupp has not caught a touchdown at home this year, and this is his last opportunity to do so. And I'm just saying, last time he played the Rams, he fumbled. So this time around, can we get him into the end zone for 6?
He got in once. He got a
2-point conversion in the second game. But this time around, let's get him a touchdown so we can hear the Coop chants at home for a touchdown instead of on the road. I think that would be poetic. And
honestly, I think 5 catches for 60 yards is him going off at this stage in his career. Like it's kind of the role he plays. We might never see another 100-yard game from him, but I like the idea of a touchdown in this game for Kupp. I'd like to see that.
I'd like to see the remake of the Jermaine Kearse catch in the 2014 NFC Championship, but have it be Cooper Kupp.
Yeah. Unfortunately, Torrey Horton's the one wearing 15, and he's not back this year because that's the magic number, I think, for the
And it
honest.
I don't care about the number. It's
And
the
also-
it's the guy that's not fast enough to get down the field vertically that does it. It seems, and I think
Yep.
I would just
That's
prefer
the-
for that not to be in overtime after having to come back from full.
yes, okay, agree with this. I'm just saying that particular visual.
Let's
I would love
remove
to
all
see
that
with Cooper.
context, and I
Yes.
like where you're going with that. Yeah.
Oh, well, hold
All right.
on. We know how it is as far as quarterbacks throwing 4 interceptions in a game, and we've just got to bury them for the rest of time.
That's right. Shouldn't ever be allowed to play football again, ever.
Yeah, no kidding. All right, Peter Go Hawks, and again here with another donation. Thank you so much, Peter. Do you think the sand bomb to Shaheed was PI? And I think he's referring to the first game. No, it wasn't. It was just slightly overthrown.
Throw the 9 route. Don't throw the post route to Shaheed, please.
Yeah.
And throw it out in effing front and let him run underneath it. Don't throw it to the backside of him. Don't slow him down. Throw it out.
Let
in
him
front
run
of him as
on the
far as you
numbers
can.
and fade him out away from the defender and let him just catch it and run.
I like what they've been doing with JSN in the backfield. Put Shaheed in the backfield, wheel route, or God dang it, you taught me this the other day, but Bryce, not the wheel,
The rail.
the rail.
Real, yeah.
Shaheed
Rail
backfield, 20, 21 personnel, rail route up the sideline. Get him on a linebacker. Get him on Nate Landman, for crying out loud. That'd be the mismatch. Like, remember the year that we were in Arizona, and I can't remember the linebacker now, but it was Russ was in shotgun, and once he noticed that it was man coverage and this certain linebacker was going to be matched up against our receiver. Remember that when he was like he couldn't get the snap fast enough, and he's stomping his feet and everything, trying to tell the center to get me the damn ball right now because we got a mismatch. Something like that. Get Shaheed on Landman. It's over.
Yeah, I'd be down for that. From the Hawks Nest, Daniel in here goes, it's official, about to lose my voice this Sunday for $2 donation. Thank you, Daniel.
Appreciate it, Dan.
Don't leave anything out there.
We've got Randy in here, goes for $5. Wifey and I will be there Sunday, drawing up the horse and buggy to make the trip from Central Washington, sitting right above our tunnel, jacked up. Oh, that's a good spot to watch the game from.
Let's go, Randall.
They have
That's a hell of a
Amish in
game.
Washington. I didn't know that. There's a lot of Amish.
Oh, they're still a little behind the times out there in the middle states. So
Amish
it's-
paradise in Central Washington.
No, I'm down with that. Thank you for the donation again, Randy.
Thank you,
We've
Randy.
got Kevin in here with a $2 donation from the Hawks Nest side. Goes, how much of the loss of Zach is going to hurt the Hawks? I think it's going to hurt. I don't think it makes or breaks this game, though.
Yeah, it'll hurt, but he was not very effective in either of the 2 meetings in the Rams versus the Rams. And also, Walker, I think, can be trusted to be your every down back. Now, the one area where I think there will be a loss is going to be the pass pro, because Walker is not great there. He's not terrible at it, but one of the sacks Sam took was because Walker didn't exactly provide great effort trying to chip or do anything to Malik Mustafa. Holani can pass protect. It's just that when you haven't been in game action so long and you're already on the field in the first place on offense, there might be some assignments that may get lost in translation. So that's kind of my only big concern without Charbonnet.
That's fair. We've got Kevin. Oh, wait, where'd it go? Hold on. Sorry. Here we go. We got Randy back in here for $2. Goes K9, 160 scrimmage yards and 2 TDs. Well, that's
that's and this goes back in tandem to Kevin's point on the above on this as well. And I think that he's got this in him. And the thing with Walker right now, and that this would be a worry if this was like 5 weeks left of the season. I think this would be a concern. 2 weeks left and you win this game and you get a bye to rest up Walker then for the Super Bowl. That means you can just go full meal deal. Like what you've been trying to do to protect him, to keep him healthy for this time of year, for him to be fresh right now, to be able to go at his full blast. So I think that this is really not going to be a predicament for us. The pass pro stuff is valid, but this is what he can give you on the other side of that. And he's a big play machine. Now you're getting him more touches. You're giving more of that thing that those running backs often like with this, which is that they tell you that while it's nice to have the 2-headed attack, running backs like to set up defenses. Remember, Sean Alexander was really big on this, where he'd talk about setting up defenses in the first half and then make a completely different cut in the second half because he felt the defense was going to flow to that first cut he had made. And this is what running backs can do oftentimes. Set up, get a feel, see what the defense is doing. The more attempts you give them at times, Walker's this kind of back, I think, the more you can kind of get them more into kind of feeling what they're doing and then being able to attack as the game goes along.
I'd look out for K9 as a receiving back because I've been watching since the bye week. I think they've been, not in high volume, been giving him more non-check down routes to run. Like that wheel route, I think would have been a much bigger play if Sam put a better ball out there. But it was still on target enough for him to at least catch that on the wheel. He's had a couple of angle routes go for first downs. I think one against Washington, one against the Rams. So I think that K9 is a more capable receiving back than has been advertised.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, don't disagree with you guys on that one. We got another one in here from Brandon's side of SoCal Ram goes, Brando, now tell the homers how the Rams win with a $2 donation.
Well, the only way I think that the real only pathway for the Rams this game to me is McVay understanding the second game in the first half was process over results. And his process was a correct one. I'm going to go into a road environment. I'm going to grind out first downs. I'm going to stay hyper attentive to running the football. And I'm going to control the game clock with that. I'm going to keep my defense fresh. And yeah, they only came up with a couple of field goals and they went for it on a fourth down. I'd offer that if you just decided not to go for it on that fourth down there and have that, instead go a different way for them, might be a bit different. But all that being said, I think if he stayed committed to that process would scare me for 4 quarters. But McVay doesn't do that. He can't help himself. He's like the kid that sees the cookie jar just right within reach, and he's got to reach for it. He's got to go get that cookie. And I don't think that this game's going to be some different game from most of the rest that he's played throughout this season, where even Rams fans themselves have come in my chat, hyper telling me about that in games that they've won. Like, why does he keep getting away from the run? I don't get it. Doesn't make any sense.
No, I think you're right on there. He's got to stay with the run game. And even my guest that I had today on mine and Blaine said the same thing. Like, he abandons it too quickly and it throws us into these pure drop back situations where we get into trouble. So Randy comes back in with another $2 donation, goes, Randy's hot take. Denver
There's one other
beats New
dono.
England.
There's one other
Yeah,
dono
John?
above it that got blocked. Sorry. I just want to address it. It was SoCal Rams. You're not seeing it. I think one of your mods probably blocked SoCal Ram on that side, so that's why it's not showing up on yours. He said, by the way, I was blocked on Super Chats and another chat, soft, shaking my head. Okay, Rams fans, you got to understand this from what our mods are having to deal with the last 2 weeks. It's been 49ers last week, 49ers fans the prior 2 weeks before that, and now we have Ram fans this week. And I got to say, I like trash talk, but it's nothing but these fans coming in a lot of times and just upending conversations that are going on within the chat, having nothing to do with our show. And I don't understand folks that do this, but when you guys do this and you get a lot of your fan base coming in and doing this, you're going to lead to mods going in. They're going to get a little bit hyper, pushing people out because they're trying to keep the show on the rails. And it's the whole purpose of trolls. So I get where you're coming from. Sorry you got caught astray on that in the whatever channel you might have with it. But you guys, I get you guys are feeling yourselves. If you actually brought, like I said earlier on the show, better discussion to play at times with us rather than us feeling like we're just jousting with a troll who's not being really serious, it just doesn't lead anywhere. It doesn't lead our chat anywhere. So the thing we ask you guys is come in, be respectful. All fans are welcome into all of our chats, but the be respectful part's kind of the important part. And if you find yourself calling names and doing this and do it like, you're out of pocket. And I don't think you are necessarily SoCal Ram. I don't think you necessarily did anything, but I got to say, it's something I've noticed here really growing up here in the last week. And Ram fans, even in the first matchup, it wasn't this way, which does make me wonder a little bit if there's some nervousness because you guys were so much like, hey, just kind and nice in that second matchup, like a little big brother, little brother energy kind of thing. And now suddenly like
in the mouth,
now it's gone overboard a little bit, and it has gone overboard. I've been watching the chat even today on this one, SoCal Ram fans, seeing plenty of Rams fans coming in, keeping Amy busy as ever in the chat. And I just think it's really not necessary, especially anybody that's come in our chat knows how we operate because we're not here talking trash about that Rams organization. We make our points as to why we think we're going to win. It has nothing to do with getting personal or going after people individually. Let's go with, hey, let's keep it to the field.
Well said.
Thank you for that, Brandon. Well said. And just back to Randy's $2 donation. Randy's hot take: Denver beats New England in a low-scoring game. Yeah, that's possible. Like one win for Stidham, maybe, and then I think he gets boat raced in a Super Bowl. But that's just my thought there.
Mile higher too.
Yeah. John comes in with a $5 donation. Can't wait to be back in the stands screaming for the Hawks. Go 12s. Well, make sure you scream extra for us there, anyone that's going to the game, because unfortunately none of us will be in attendance. But yeah, make sure you make up for the Syndicate being there. Wow.
I'm sad. I'm happy for Alex, though. Shout out to Alex, who will be using my tickets on Sunday. Thanks for
Alex.
Thanks for picking those up. And he gave me a nice little tidy sum, some of which I'll be using for our trip next week. So worked out okay. Got in the hands of a Seahawks fan and made some money doing it.
Nice. All right, Industry Worth here with from Brandon's side with a $20 donation of a super sticker. Thank you for that,
Industry Worth. Appreciate you.
All right.
Cal.
Next here, we got Randy back in with another $5 donation. Man, Randy and Peter, you guys are killing it tonight. Appreciate all the support and love of the show. I get the feeling Mac has been preparing for round 3 since we won round 2. Get ready for the best defensive game plan since Belichick took McVay to the woodshed.
Did you guys hear what McDonald said the other day in one of his interviews? Maybe it was the radio show that I think it was. He was with Brock and Salk, and they asked him, like, what was it like watching that game last night? And he said, well, it really wasn't like I didn't really get to enjoy it because I was charting it. Like he was actually breaking it down, basically watching it live on TV, which I'd never quite heard of before, but I guess I always kind of assumed it happened. He was asked a similar question a few weeks ago, and he was just like, yeah, it's kind of cool to watch the game. So a little different stakes now, right? You got the clipboard out.
Seen the photo. I can't remember if it was Seahawks put it up or someone, and he's like sitting in the locker room, and it's definitely before a game, and he's sitting there with the laptop or the Surface, and he's got Spoon and Kobe beside him, sitting down on the ground, leaned up against the wall, just going through stuff pre-game, like they're dressed and they've just come back in, they're about to go back out, and he's still watching film and pointing things out. And I was like, that's different. That's what makes our coach in some respects different than ones we've had in the past.
One of the first things John Schneider ever said about him when he hired him was that he had a big brain. And I think about that. I think about that all the time. The dude is just really, really smart.
He loves attention to detail. And I think what has impressed me the most about this year's team is that they are so clean generally. They're not penalty prone. They might be turnover prone, but that's not necessarily attention to detail. That's just your own sloppiness at times, and some of it's bad luck. But the defense, how often have you seen them look way out of position, blowing coverages, not fitting their run gaps properly? So I think that level of disciplined attention to detail focus that McDonald has is a departure from, I don't want to beat up on Pete, but basically the last few years, what I think really was Pete's downfall as a coach is the attention to detail was completely lost. Nobody knows who to block on offense. Nobody knows who to cover on defense. You get too many blown coverages, too many instances of guys not being in sync with one another. And that just kind of had a cascading effect where the team just was mediocre. An elite team like this one, they seem to know the little things so well, and that gives them that edge.
And not to beat up, pile on Pete, but I was thinking the exact same thing before he said it. Those last couple of years when there were blown coverages, guys out of position, Pete just didn't have any answers when he was asked about it afterwards, right? He just didn't have answers. We've seen instances this year with this defense, not just the Tampa Bay game, but a couple other games since where, McDonald comes out, one of the first things he'll say is like, I called a bad game. I didn't put us in a position to win. There were some things that I missed. It's different. It feels different. And then you see the results on the field, and I tend to like this approach better.
Mm-hmm.
All right, got another dono from Brandon's side here. Go from Vermilion Cast.
You guys are amazingly kind, guys. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Brando's Wilsoning over there.
Yeah,
let's go.
He is $20. Well, he has to on this one. It's so big. I even moved the cameras around. $20 donation came in. I can see the Seahawks winning because their defense got better over the season, and Sam has improved on turnovers, and the Rams put a lot on Stafford to put plays in the throws, and special teams lacking as well. The Rams run defense, as well as the Rams run defense. Yeah, like again, Seattle playing. Like to Brandon's point, I think you really nailed it on the head, Brandon, earlier in the show when you said, when you were talking about the conversation a little bit with Rams and just the Seahawks team it's hard to go and be like, we're going to take this away and we're going to take this. Like, there's so many things you have to do right to beat the Seattle Seahawks right now in a lot of ways. And like, we all know everyone's going to be like, oh, Darnold just throw us the game. Like, no, like legitimately, there are so many things you'd have to do right for 4 quarters to beat the Seattle Seahawks, where looking at what the Rams have done the last 2 weeks in the playoffs and even leading up to it, I didn't feel like I looked at the Rams and went, yeah, they're going to be a really hard team to beat if we're not completely on our A game every snap of every play for 60 minutes. I look at it and go like, yeah, the Rams may shoot themselves in the foot in some capacity.
Yeah, I definitely agree with all that. I can't add a lot on top of it, frankly, and just that this is a game about small advantages that work in tandem to really make you feel like you have a hearty advantage coming in this game. It doesn't mean we're blowing the doors off the Rams or the Rams aren't a quality team. It just means that this team's got room for error, and this team's had multiple games this year where it's lost the turnover battle, including the last Rams game, yet still have won. It's had games where it's lost the turnover war 0-3 and has blown the doors off of teams at the same time as that has occurred. These were all representations of the fact that this was just a team that wasn't just good, but great, and then had that room for error within it. Now, the Rams have some room for error as well. They don't have to play a perfect brand of football in order to win. But I think the flaws that you can point out to distinctly from what that exists within this team are enough. Are enough if this comes down to a close game to give Seattle the edge.
We got Fizz in here with a $2 donation going C, and then we've got Doom in here, another $2 and going Hawks. Well done, gentlemen. Well done, everybody.
You know what Mike McDonald will call that? That's a complimentary commenting.
That is complimentary comment.
It is.
I like it.
It is.
I like it.
Chasing edges.
We got one in here from Brandon's side, it looks like, from SoCal Ram for a $20 donation. Appreciate that.
SoCal?
Thank you, SoCal.
Goes, all we've heard is the Rams don't have a chance, right, guys? Just don't play. So Rams and Seattle are 1-1. Neither game is a blowout. McVay won't make the same mistake twice. Just keep the same energy after Sunday.
So again, this is the part I don't, and you're free to present to me a comment on what we've said on this show that's been at any point saying how the Rams are a weak team or not a strong team. I pointed to DVOA at the start of this. These are the two top DVOA teams. I pointed the fact that this is going to be a close game. If I thought that this was going to be, can I see a pathway to us winning this comfortably? Sure. That's a possibility by the way we're playing. But all of these things are more representation by how we're playing, not to pick at the Rams or say something of how they suck or aren't. And I think I've seen that a little bit out here, not just from SoCal, but other Rams fans, that they see us somehow saying, hey, here's point A, B, C, D, E, F as to why we're running really good, why we have confidence coming in this game. And they go, oh, so you're basically saying we're trash. It's like, no, I just pointed to these exact points, counter those points, right? Like, are you playing your best football at this time of the year? Well, no. So it's an advantage. Are you at home right now? Well, no. Do we have more rest than you? Yeah. Did your middle linebacker play 70 snaps last week? Have you been on the road 3 straight times? Is your defensive line tapped out like Byron Young out on his dodgy knee? Yeah. These are small advantages and they add up. And it's a more complete team by the way we play. You're more leaning on that star quarterback to carry your load, and we don't. And maybe it plays out where this will work true for you. But I don't think that I've seen any of these 3 gentlemen in here, nor myself, sit here and drive down somehow to the Rams of not earning the right to have been here or not being that tough team that we know that they are. It's more about the confidence in our team. And again, the exact points we're bringing up for why we have this confidence in this team. Not that we're just kind of homers and we like them. I feel like I just got this feeling in my gut right now. They're just kind of good. No, we're going point by point for you and going through all this. It's the totality of that pushes the win forward, in my opinion, in this game. And maybe we're wrong on this, but I think that we've been at least pretty cogent and logical and rational in deducing down why it would go this way.
I don't have anything to add to that. Well said again, Brandon. We've got Randy McDaniel in with another $5 donation going jet sweep to Shaheed, flea flicker, Sammy D hits K9 on the wheel route, low risk play. Defense will pursue number 22. Number 9 walks to the land of 6.
That's one thing you get with the defense that knows it can't stop the run is over pursuit, right, Bryce?
Yep, that's exactly it.
Hey, Brandon, I'm glad you brought up the DVOA thing. Bryce, you see the screen I'm sharing down at the bottom there?
Already got it for you, my friend.
This is the best combined regular season DVOA game in the playoffs in 47 years, and it's by a lot. So this is combined DVOA, that number all the way at the right. You add the two of them together, and it's 81.1%. It's an 11-point difference over the next closest game, which is the 2007 divisional matchup between the Patriots and the Jaguars. That is insane.
And the Patriots are doing a ton of heavy lifting for those other 2 games because they were undefeated.
Was that the undefeated
regular season? And then, oh, look, there's the Seahawks right there.
Hey, look at that with Denver in 2013. What do you know?
Yep. So, that is an indicator that we think that this is going to be a matchup between 2 great teams. It's just that one is playing a little bit better or maybe a fair bit better than the other team. It's not to say that's permanent, but it's just that on form, there's good reason to pick the Seahawks to win this game. Not saying the Rams have no chance. They absolutely have a chance, especially with their coach and their quarterback.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, we got another one in on Brandon's side here from Mark Sanchez for
Oh, good to see Mark
$10
doing well.
donation. Yeah, it's great to see Mark doing well. Really, really, really glad he's okay. Late to the party. If the Rams move away from 12 and 13 personnel, then the Hawks will be hosting the Lombardi on Niners turf. McVay's faith in Stafford will cost him this game. Thoughts?
He got
I
away
think
from
this
it last week.
No, but I think this is a very valid point in a lot of ways. And we've seen it even in our Super Bowl win, for example. And I'll put it this way: our Super Bowl win over the Broncos. John Fox leaned into the veteran star quarterback and Peyton Manning more so than having a complete team. And this is what happens when they don't have a good day. Like if you have all your chips in a lot of ways in one basket, that yes, I get the appeal of having a very elite quarterback be able to pull the strings for you and do certain things is very appealing. And it's nice because it works most weeks. But when that competition gets tougher and tougher as you get farther and farther along in the playoffs and you're playing more and more complete teams that are well-rounded, that's when it can start to show up as a weakness because you go, well, if he's not 100% on or he struggles for a quarter and a half and creates a couple of turnovers or drive stall out, and that other team can just keep playing their complementary football where, yeah, they may not have the elite top 5 quarterback on the other side, but they got a guy that's a top 10 guy that can make some throws and make some plays and plays within the system. It can make it very hard to beat those teams.
Agreed.
Yeah, I like it.
Didn't we literally just have a Super Bowl a year ago where like, is anybody going to take Jalen Hurts over Patrick Mahomes? No. And I still wouldn't take him now over ACL tier Patrick Mahomes. But I do know that the Eagles had one hell of a defense. They had a running game that wasn't effective on the day of the Super Bowl, but it's something they didn't abandon. And the Chiefs really didn't have any answers. This is not the same matchup, but it's just that you cannot default go, oh, they have a better quarterback. That's all I need. No, that's not how it works.
No.
All right. Me's back in here with another $50 donation. Thank you, Me.
Let's go, me.
Spreading the wealth around to the rest of the syndicate. Much love, Bryce and Mookie. Thank you so much, Me. And then Me again with another $50 donation.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, Me. Didn't want to leave you out, Dan. Couldn't leave the dono with your channel for obvious reasons. Hopefully, Bryce will be a pal and get you that donation. I will definitely do that, Me. That is a promise.
We're going to be under the same roof for a whole week. You can't dodge me.
Yeah, I can't dodge Dan. Dan's going to lock me in the closet if I don't pay up. So it's going to be very much mafia warfare down there.
True syndicate way to deal with things.
That's right. You're going to lose a thumb if you don't work that out.
Oh, yeah. Peter Go Hawks back in here with another $2 donation. Cup got a touchdown versus Jacksonville I would have been in Jacksonville this year. That's right. You did get that one.
I didn't know that we had a
that's
second
that's the one I
Jacksonville.
was thinking, but it wasn't Jacksonville. You're right, Peter. That's what I thought for some reason it was Lumen.
I like the one word though. It's the game's at Lumenfield.
Yeah.
Lumenfield.
Noonan.
We got one in here.
Scandinavian restaurant. Just go over to Lumenfield. They got great food.
Oh, Lumenfield. Sounds like a clothing store.
Yeah, no kidding. Another donation in here from Brandon's side here from Marcus. $5 donation. Thank you, Marcus. There are times when I believe that talking sports has now become, as I know, a divisive as talking politics. Let's be classy. Totally agree. Totally agree.
Yeah.
This is why I bring it up. This is why we mention it, just because this is what makes our channels go in so many ways, that the discussion can remain in a good place. And these outside people want to come in and up in that just because I guess they've got some dark part in their heart or whatever. But we're not going to make this like politics. So if you want to operate that way, you're going to last long on any of our channels in that way.
It is, for lack of a better term, because we love what this word is being related to now, and that's dark side. It's so many of these people that I used to have a lot of respect for as analysts and journalists, and it's near and dear to my heart. I have a degree in journalism, worked in the field a long time ago. I still hold on to the old ideals of what journalism should be and is supposed to be. And you see these guys going to the dark side, and Ryan Clark's the best example of it. I thought that guy, when he first got out of football and started doing analysis work, thought he was really, really sharp and smart. And now he's completely gone to the other side where it's all about, what can I fit into a tweet? What can I get clicks for? How can I inflame and fire people up the most? And I've just, for years now, I just avoid that stuff as much as I can.
To me, there's two guys that really stand out that I really enjoy listening to. One being Dan Orlovsky. I find that his analysis and breakdown a lot of the time is really good.
And he gets shit on so much, and I just don't understand it.
Yeah. And the other one that I've actually grown to like, not necessarily so much for his analyst view of things, but just speaking his mind a lot, is actually Ryan Leaf. When Ryan talks on his podcasts and stuff and those type of things, like I've really grown to, the guy's gone through the ringer. Let's talk about it. Huge, probably the top NFL bust outside of Jamarcus Russell in a lot of ways. Hit rock bottom and kind of has found a way back. And in some respects, I think he gives a good perspective on things. But we got a bunch more donos, guys, we got to get to here as we run on 2 hours for this show. And I'll be honest, I'm a little tired. I've been doing back-to-back shows. So I tried to pull a Brandon, and I have now newfound respect for Brandon and his long streams. So Derek in here with a $5 donation. He goes, I know it's too early to dream, but how good would it feel to win the Super Bowl in a rival's stadium 2 years in a row? Go Hawks.
Yeah, I had to confirm that. I had to look that up on my phone. I didn't realize.
SoFi next year.
Next year, SoFi, which makes me rethink the idea that maybe, depending on what the Rams do this year, that McVay might be thinking about stepping away. I would think that they would try to capitalize on that year as much as possible. But that would be cool. Hey, I think I said this to you the other day, Bryce, that I've been pretty steadfast in saying that I think this is a year ahead of schedule for where the Seahawks, where I expected them to be. If they win it all this year, I think with how everything lines up and financial flexibility and the youth of the roster and guys they have signed and everything else, I think this team has a shot at a three-peat.
Yeah.
Bookmark book season, storybook dynasty. If they can get it done in SoFi, that'd be
screen record that.
Set
it aside. We'll revisit it later.
We got Fizz back in here with another $2 super sticker. Appreciate you there, Fizz, as well as another $3 one. Thank you, Fizz, for the support and the super stickers. What do we got else in here, guys? We just got a whole bunch of these rolling in. All right. We've got from Brandon's side, Ethan with a $5 donation coming in. Was amazing hanging out with you guys at training camp. Wow. Think back to that and where this team is now. We've got some family business this Sunday.
Yeah, thanks, Ethan.
Good
to hear from you again.
I like that.
Love it, Ethan.
That was a lot of fun. At training camp. And yeah, Ethan, it was great. And hey, Ethan, we'll be back there again next year. Just saying.
For third straight year, I'll catch Ethan down there. I got him the year prior too. So
no, there you go. 3 years for Brandon. Oh, and we got a new guest on the show. Is that Butch hanging out with us, Dan?
It's the fifth member of the syndicate. I mean, he's always wearing black.
The syndicate.
The syndicate.
There we go. I love it. The syndicate.
Wait, hey, I thought about bringing him to Mobile, but no pets allowed at the Airbnb. So,
oh, that's unfortunate. All right, Peter back in here. Another $5 donation goes. What Mike has done to Wolin has been a complete 180 from the beginning of the year. It sucked to see Wolin go. I hope we sign him. He's balling out. Now, I got a question for you guys. If they do win the Super Bowl, and they do have an opportunity to bring a bunch of these guys back, do you think there's an opportunity where some of these guys sign 3-year deals maybe that don't break the bank potentially to stay with this team as it is so young and try and go for that dynasty run? Do you think that's a potential thing that some of these guys think about, these players?
Kind of depends on who it is. If it's somebody like Kobe Bryant, like just go get your money because you're probably going to get a big contract elsewhere. But for like the more notable names, maybe like Reek. So or K9. In fact, Charbonnet's injury kind of totally changes the K9 equation as far as free agency. So yeah, I think it's possible. I don't expect hometown discount stuff, but like they have the cap space to still pay top dollar for certain players they want to keep.
I do think it's a misconception that a lot of fans have that all these players are just money hungry and that all they care about is maximizing their earning and making as much as they possibly can and nothing else matters. Most of these guys care about quality of life and they want to be somewhere where they feel comfortable and loved and wanted and they get to contribute and they get to win and it's in a positive environment. And I think, as much as the Seahawks built that early on in the Pete Carroll years, And that was appealing to players. It allowed us to get guys like Michael Bennett, Cliff Averill in free agency on team friendly deals because they wanted to be a part of it. Ultimately, they weren't able to maintain it because of some other ego and things that got involved. But I absolutely think that players value that more than a lot of fans think they do. And we've seen it. We've seen players over the last 3 years take deals that came in at less than we expected them to be because they wanted to stay here. And I think that's why the big push this offseason is going to be trying to keep as much of the band back together as they can, trying to run it back as much as you can. And that's why I think a lot of the heavy lifting for this offseason is going to be done in February, trying to get these guys signed before they hit the open market in March.
All right, guys, we got 6 more of these donos to get through before we can wrap up tonight's show. And we've got Dreams in here with a $2 donation. Going, Puka looks off, Rams QB hand, any news, go Hawks. I haven't heard anything about Stafford's hand since before the Bears.
He's not even on the injured report, but there was quite a bit of conversation about it during the broadcast on Sunday that after he hit his finger on that guy's helmet, that I think there was one stretch where he was like 2 out of the next 10, something like that. It clearly seemed to affect him. He did have some uncharacteristic misses that we're not used to seeing from him.
Hard to say if it's the weather or the finger in that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, combination.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. We've got Namnia in here with a $10 donation. Goes, first time catching you guys live. Love that this team has improved throughout the course of the season and in-game adjustments are a thing. What a treat to get to watch this team go Hawks. Well, thank you for the $10 donation. And yeah, the in-game adjustments for this team have been off the chart this year.
They really have, and it's a different divergence from what we were at in the prior regime, where a lot of things could be so stagnant and similar week in and week out to what you would see. This week can change on a dime. Dan mentioned McDonald taking responsibility in the press conference. That was an empty talk. That was the Buccaneers game, and he came back and understood, I can't run as much vanilla. I've got to put these guys in some position for success. And he did so after that game. So it's not just talk, as would sometimes we get with under the Carroll regime, where it'd be like, we got to do better. We got to teach it better. And then you'd see no adjustment. You'd see no change. And that's definitely been a big sea change with McDonald coming in.
Totally agree with you, Brandon. And we got one from Brandon's side over here. Taker comes in with a $5 donation. Seattle won its divisional game by 35 points. The Rams won theirs by 3. The team we beat by 35 beat the team you beat by 3. It's math. That's all I'm saying.
If only it worked that way. This is like
that'd be fantastic. So good.
That'd be great.
No need to sign up. No need to come to the Lumen Field, Rams. We'll just, the math works out. You're not going to game over before you even step on the field. We got Tiz in here with a $2 donation. Can't wait for a Kubiak masterclass. Ooh, that would be something. But I also am like, if he puts that on masterclass and Brady's sitting in the booth, Brady, stay away from our offensive coordinator.
Yeah, I wonder how he feels if Darnold balls out and like how does he feel that he said supposedly, no, don't go after Darnold, having not been able to get Stafford. So like, yeah, just something to think about.
It's a bitter pill.
All right, here's another one from Brandon's side. Daniel back in here with another $2 donation. Goes 35 turnovers in the playoffs so far, 0 from Sam.
Mm-hmm. And look, he might have one. But as long as it's not cascading or it's a damaging, untimely turnover, fine. But you're going to turn the ball over. It's quarterback. It's playoff football. A lot of good defenses there. It's going to happen to even the best of them.
Hate to say it, but both of our Super Bowl runs with Russell Wilson, he turned over the ball in the NFC Championship game both times.
Yep. Hey, they won a game where he went 9 of 18 for 103 against the Saints. So it's like, nobody was asking, hey, well, you can't win with Russ at quarterback, can you?
All right. Our last dono from Randy for $5 goes top 5 to 10 guys y'all want to see at the Senior Bowl. Oh, this is a perfect segue, Randy. Thank you so much for this donation and segue into this. All right. Brandon, I'll start with you. Give me some names for you that you're looking forward to seeing at Senior Bowl.
Obviously Jennings Dunker is a guy that I would look at. Emmanuel Pregnon, I see how he moves athletically. I think he's more Damian Lewis and thus not maybe as much a scheme fit, but he's a guy that I'm going to be taking a look at pretty closely to see if maybe there's more athleticism there in the tank than I'm seeing as far as a right guard option in the future. Katron Allen, Penn State running back, is a guy that I like quite a bit, and I'd like to see what he's got in the tank out there as a potential replacement, especially by that point. We may lose Walker and need to look at running back early here. So those would be three of the guys I'd look at. Dunker, especially for maybe solidifying a little bit of first round flavor to him if he can.
All right, Dan, what about you?
So I am way behind where I normally is at this time of year, trying to rally like crazy over the next few days to get as many of the Senior Bowl guys done as I can. But I got my binder put together, and I've started digging in with the Edge class. Let's just open the binder and see what I like. What do I got here? Actually, I'm kind of kidding around, but I tend to kind of look a little heavier in sort of the day 2 class right now, since obviously the Seahawks are going to be choosing at the bottom of the first round. So I haven't really started to look at the top of the draft yet. Brandon and I spoke about this online briefly the other day. Derek Moore out of Michigan is a guy that's really caught my eye as an edge player, kind of a high floor player. I don't know that you're going to get a lot of high ceiling guys this year, at least not after the first 10 or so. Kind of has some Derek Hall qualities and just speed to power and his bull rush. There's a couple of the running backs that I really like. Blanking on his name right now, to be honest. But actually the kid that backs up Jeremiah Love at Notre Dame has some of the best running back tape out there, I think, this year. And I like some of the corners too. I'm actually using, back in the old days, they used to say that players would go to training camp to get in shape. This year I'm kind of using and it's the Seahawks' fault. They just keep winning and giving us stuff to talk about every day. But I'm kind of using Senior Bowl to get into my top 100 this year. So sorry, I don't have any better answers for you, but I will next week.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same bracket with you there, Dan. I'm a little behind on my studying as well for this, but I've got a couple guys. One, Colton Hood out of Tennessee as a corner is a guy that I'm very interested in. I think could fill a void for Seattle. I'm just looking through my little list that I've got here. I'm also Dunker's another guy I'm interested in out of Iowa. He's a guy that I think could be an intriguing prospect for sure. And I'll definitely have a couple more names to go off of eventually once we get down there. But I am interested in this cornerback group. I'm interested in the running back group as well. Jonah Coleman was going to be there, but unfortunately he's not. I was actually looking forward to seeing what he was going to do there. It'll be an interesting group, I think, down there. The quarterbacks aren't really going to be the highlight of that group down there this year. It's going to be a lot of the other positions.
Yep.
So,
yeah. Actually, I think we've had some dropouts in the last week, but I think because of the makeup of this class, there aren't a lot of kind of no doubt can't miss guys. I think even compared to last year, it seems to me like there's some surprises. There's more guys out of the championship game that have accepted invites and are going to show up than we did last year. None of the Ohio State guys did. They all bowed out last year. So I think that's really going to help with some of those Indiana and Miami guys down there. There's some interesting defensive linemen and edge rushers that are showing up. A lot of the better corners are going to be there. There's some intriguing receivers that are going to be there as well. So I think there's enough down there that I'm really excited about what we're going to see.
All right, got one more donation, guys, that we got to get to here before we wrap up and give our kind of predictions for this. So we've got Taker back in here from Brandon's side over on the Hawks. Now, the $5 donation. Given the coaching vacancies that have been filled already, how do you feel about the chances Clint moves on at this point? Brandon, I'll start with you.
It was 75% a couple weeks ago. I still maintain it's about 75% right now. Yeah, there's been some teams taken off the board, but I still think that there's not a lot of high quality candidates out there. And I don't know if he's going to have quite the personality to sway a team in the in-person interview in the way he's going to need to seal up the job. But that being said, the job he's done here can't be undersold in the respect of you took a bottom third offense to a top third offense. You did so with a new quarterback in a situation here. You did so doing stylistic things like the condensed splits that they would bring out there offensively early in the season, which really flourished. You got a running game turned around on a dime. I just think that there's enough that, and don't undersell the fact that he gets to bring an offensive staff with him. He has a staff. So it's not just about the core. A lot of times with these guys, when you hire them, it's like, well, what staff can they build? Do they have connections to build a good staff too? He's going to be able to on that side. I think it's going to be enough to have him get the job when it's all said and done.
Dan, what about you?
I'm going to stick to my guns and say that Kubiak doesn't get one of these jobs. I am more nervous about it over the last week or so because of what the Raiders are doing or not doing or whatever. It's hard to kind of put your finger on their search and their approach down there. I have heard some promising things over the last couple of days. Josina Anderson was reporting that they were infatuated, I believe was the word that she used, with Mike LaFleur after his first interview. They haven't had a chance to talk to him again. Davis Webb is another guy that sounds like he's really caught their interest and is intriguing to them, even though not only has he never been a head coach, he's never even called plays. I still remain steadfast. First of all, I think if the Seahawks win Sunday, I think that essentially ices Kubiak out of the coaching search. I don't, and this is the reason I believe that. I think if that happens, a bunch of guys are going to get second interviews with the Raiders next week. The ones that are out can interview in person and have a chance to make that impression. If Kubiak has a second interview down there, which it sounds like he would, it would have to be virtual. Am I right on that? If they're still in it, right? His second interview would be virtual.
No in-person. They don't get to talking to him until after the playoffs.
And I think they are in on all three of the guys from the Rams, right? LaFleur and Shieldhouse and I'm blanking on the other name. And Shula. And Davis Webb's involved there as well, and they're really impressed with him. I still maintain, and I'm holding tight to this, and maybe it's wishful thinking. I'm trying to talk myself into it. When it comes to that second round of interviews, when those guys get to get in the building, they're all so much more dynamic in the way that they present themselves and speak. If any of you saw the introductory press conference today with Jeff Hafley in Miami, you can see why all the reports were that he blew teams away because of his energy and the way he's able to communicate and connect with you in person. Kubiak simply does not possess those skills. And so the Raiders, to choose him over these other guys, would have to be so convinced that he's an offensive mastermind that he can overcome all of that, because he's not a guy that's going to rally a fan base. He's not a guy that's going to get people juiced up. That is in, he's not going to win the press conference. So you have to be so convinced that he's that guy offensively. And I don't know that the evidence is there that he is, but certainly I think these other guys are going to make a bigger impression in their second interviews. And I still think he'll be back next year.
All right, Mookie, I'll wrap that up with you here. What's your percentage? Give it to me.
I think it's less than 50. We're down to what? The Cardinals, the Browns, the Bills, the Raiders, and the Steelers. So realistically, it's probably Arizona or the Raiders, because I don't think Buffalo would take a chance on Kubiak. Pittsburgh is not going to look his way. And then the Browns, I don't think have even interviewed Kubiak. So I think that Clint, more likely than not, will stay as head coach. As offensive coordinator and not be a head coach. I'm more worried about all these jobs opening up for new coaching staffs. That means we lose Carl Scott as defensive coordinator, because I think that's a very significant possibility that we're going to see the coaching staff rated to some degree, but it might be more on the defensive side of the ball than we realize. And Scott, I believe, is going to be quite coveted. He already interviewed for the Washington job. Don't think he'll get it, or maybe there's no news on that, but I can see that happening. But otherwise, I think Kubiak's here to stay at least through next season.
I'm kind of at the same point. Once the Atlanta job got filled and the Baltimore job just got filled, I kind of went with it's 50% or less for me now that he ends up with a job, because I don't think he's going to Arizona. But I think Carl Scott's going to be the DC in LA. He's going to end up with the Chargers and fill that role for Harbaugh now that he's lost Minter. I think Carl Scott will be one of the guys that goes here eventually. But all right, guys, last part of this show tonight as we wrap this up, the final whistle. So I'm just going to go around, and I'm going to go Brandon first for predictions on this Sunday's matchup and what you think is going to happen. So Brandon, you're up first, my friend.
Yeah, I think both teams feel each other out in the first half a little bit, play it safe, and try to figure things out as far as what they're getting from the other side. And then second half, it really kicks into gear. I think Seattle ends up getting the win 24-20, in that they just end up putting them away a little bit late. And defense ends up shutting down the Rams offense enough to get it done there.
Mookie, how about yourself?
I think the Rams will have the lead heading into the half, and then the Seahawks are going to have a big second half and turn a deficit, a small deficit, into a 31-24 victory in which they have to make one last stand, defensive stand, and that may be when the Stafford turnover happens at long last. The key for the Seahawks, please cover the tight ends, because that's been the one weakness of the Seahawks pass defense. They're in the bottom half by EPA against tight ends, and we know the Rams love to use all four tight ends, but certainly Parkinson, Ferguson, and Higbee for sure. Got to be watchful of that. But I think the Seahawks get it done with a late second half surge.
All right, and I'll bring this up on the screen so we can have a look at it. But Dan, give us your prediction.
I predict, they got a big break last week. This week, earlier in the week, it was looking like it was going to rain. Now it looks like as good a conditions as you could ever ask for a late January playoff game in the Pacific Northwest. And Kevin O'Connell in the comments asking us if we'll even be able to fly into Alabama on Monday. There's a big storm coming through. It's supposed to stretch across parts of the South and the Midwest, which I've been keeping a close eye on. I have to drive into Columbus actually on Sunday. I'm probably going to run into some snow, but that's what I've got behind me. This is the daily forecast in Mobile for the whole week that we're there. It's going to be sunny and mild, so it's not going to impact us down there. We'll be out of the eye of the storm. I think I'm feeling better about this than I was certainly at the beginning of the week. I just feel like when you look at trends, you look at this Rams team over the last 6 weeks, they just seem vulnerable. They're playing close games against teams that they have no business playing close games against. They've lost games to teams that they shouldn't have lost games to. I thought they were the far superior team on paper to the Bears, and yet the Bears kind of lost that one on their own. The Seahawks come in here healthy, believing in themselves, flying high. I don't really think there's a glaring weakness on the roster. I think they're emotionally, psychologically, and physically at a level right now that nobody wants to play at this point in the season. I think they're going to do what they did last week in the sense that they finally got over the hump and beat the Rams and kind of got that monkey off their back a little bit. Now they're going to go out and they're going to beat them a little more convincingly. I think it's going to be 27-13. The Seahawks go to the Super Bowl for the 4th time in their history.
All right. Hold on. It's trying to come up on the screen. There we go. Kevin's back in from Brandon's channel with a $5 donation.
Kevin?
I'm a Seahawks fan, but if they somehow lose on Sunday, I hope that they don't, or would you call this season a success? Go
Yes.
Hawks all the way. Yes, it's a success.
100%.
It's not even a question to me.
Yeah.
This team was picked to only win 7 wins or whatever by Vegas this year, most analysts. So it's definitely a success. Thank you for the donation there.
100%, Kevin. 100%. There's no way that this isn't a smashing success of a season at this point.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I'm last here, guys. I'm going 31-20 Seattle with the win, but I think it'll be close, and I think Seattle will be able to put them away late with a Sam Darnold touchdown drive to win the game. And I think it'll be a close game back and forth. I just think Seattle's defense playing too well, and this running game's coming alive. And I think that's what we got to go with here. So, oh man, we got one last final donation from Brandon's side. They like getting them in the last Brandon,
they know how to keep the show going, bro. They know how to keep the show going. I've got these guys where I'm well familiar, man. This is the way it goes.
Right. Basically, B39614 comes in with a $2 donation. Go Hawks! Lombardi and Levi is ours.
I like it, but let's get this one first.
I love it, man.
Let's just get this victory out of the way, and then we'll have our moment. Well, that wraps up tonight's show, everybody. For myself, Dan Viens of Seahawks Forever, Brandon Kane of the Hawks Nest, and Mookie Alexander, we're going to try this, guys, see if we can get it. I'm going to say stay loud, be proud, and then I'm going to say go Hawks. We all say go Hawks. Let's try and get this on one take. Let's see if we can do it. All right. As always, stay loud, be proud, and go Hawks.
Go Hawks.